Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ariel Helwani Show!
Back in your life! I had to wait there. I had to wait for it to play out. I would never speak over the great Lenny Hart. On this Monday, October 28, 2024. Hello again, everyone. I sure hope you're doing well. It is great to be here on a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Monday afternoon in New York City. A great day to be alive. I have been foaming at the mouth. I have been foaming at the mouth as far as this particular show goes. And a little bit rocky out of the gate here. It is not day 3. It is, in fact, week 3 of the Uncrowned Era. We are commencing week 3 of the Uncrowned Era. Our intro didn't play, but we heard from Lenny, and I was very happy about that. Everything good back there? We good, guys? Frank, give me a thumbs up to the chat.
Thumbs
up to the
thumbs
chat.
Up everywhere.
Yeah, thumbs up to the chat. I have been foaming at the mouth to get to Monday because so much has happened since we last spoke on Wednesday of last week. Of course, we had Boys in the Back on Thursday, another tremendous show. We had The Crack on Friday. We had 308 on Saturday. But I have been foaming at the mouth because I knew there would be a lot to talk about post-UFC 308. I knew there would be a lot to talk about in the aftermath, where we go from here, but also a whole bunch of stuff has happened outside of 308, which I can't wait to get into. First, let me just say, off the bat, a very happy 8th birthday to my beautiful daughter, Claire. Today is her birthday, October 28, 2016. One of, dare I say, the third best day of my life, because her brothers are going to watch this right now and say that she is the favorite. She is not the favorite, but she is my favorite daughter. Today is her birthday. Can't wait to get home and eat what kind of ice cream do you think we got, Frank? Ice cream cake. What do you say? What's the favorite?
Ice cream cake. What time should I come over? Oh, strawberry Neapolitan. Strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate.
Mint Oreo is what we got. That is her favorite, and that is what we will be having.
Known that.
Yeah. That's what we'll be having later on today. So a very happy birthday to my daughter, Claire. Thumbs up to Claire. Thumbs up to the chat. Thumbs up to the chat. In the chat to Claire. And I'm just so proud of her. I love her so much. So great day today. We have a lot to discuss. My friends, on this post-pay-per-view Monday. So much has happened since we last spoke. On Thursday, there I am. After our great Simchat Torah celebrations. I hope you had a wonderful holiday, all those who celebrate. I come home and, wow, there's all kinds of content out there. There's all kinds of stuff to react to. There was a Dana White press conference in which he spoke about one Francis Ngannou following the highly anticipated Power Slap event. And I noted on Twitter that, I could go 60 minutes right now just reacting to that 3-minute clip. And believe it or not, somewhat to my surprise, I happened to see a lot of response to that, a lot of reaction to that. People say, please, give us the breakdown. Give us the deep dive. Break out the receipts. That's what I heard. And so today on this program, we will do a deep dive because even after that moment, Francis responded, Dana responded, a whole bunch of more stuff happened. A whole bunch of stuff was said. We are going to do a deep dive unlike any other program. No one does deep dives like us. No one tells you the truth like us. No one breaks it down like us. No one presents all the facts, all the examples, all the history, and then you decide. Like this program, we've done it before. We'll do it again. Stay tuned for that. In addition to that, it was one of those rare, great weekends for me as a sports fan. We had a massive Nottingham Forest win on Friday afternoon against Crystal Palace. Very sorry, commiserations, Stevie Cooper, but what a scene that was. For a moment, we were 5th place, believe it or not. I don't know if you guys know that we were 5th place. We were in Europe. You know what I'm saying? We were playing in Europe. It was unbelievable. Now we're 7th, but tied for 6th, really. So it's a great time. Knicks win their first game on Friday. Bills win on Sunday. A bunch of soccer that my kids had. And then, of course, we had 308. We had the watch party. That was a great time. The guys did amazing. Everyone did great in the back as well. We had a post show. All of that is up on our YouTube channel right now. In addition to that, we were able to premiere all of our Helwani Vision fights. All those are up from the main card last weekend, 2 weekends ago now in Riyadh. We've got the Francis fight, and these are the full fights, but it's the Helwani Vision version of them. So it's myself and Jake Paul for Francis. It's myself and Chael for the Johnny Eblen fight. It's myself and Tyron Woodley for the AJ McKee-Paul Hughes fight. It's myself and Megan Anderson for the Cyborg fight. Myself and Tim Welch with a great prediction on his part. Those entire fights are up right now on our YouTube channel. So you can go right now and check them out. May I suggest after this program? Do it after this program. And I thought the shows and the fights and the broadcasts went great. Very, very proud of them. So we're able to give them to you now in their entirety. So all that happened, and then we get to today's program. And, of course, we're going to talk a lot about 308, what transpired on Saturday in Abu Dhabi. Ilia Topuria, still the featherweight champion. More on him in a moment. You saw afterwards Alex Volkanovski stepping into the cage. It appears as though they're going to run it back. They first fought back in February. It's been a long layoff for Volk. By the time this fight happens, it'll probably be over a year. And so we'll talk to Alex Volkanovski later in the program about his trip, about the fight, and about that rematch. Prior to that, we are going to be joined by Darren Till. Of course, Darren Till knows a thing or two about Khamzat Chimaev and Robert Whittaker. What a co-main event that was. So we'll catch up with Darren Till, get his thoughts on that and more. And at around 2 o'clock, we're going to be joined by Lerone Murphy, the Miracle, who had one of his biggest wins against Dan Ige this past Saturday. He had to overcome some adversity, but he remains unbeaten in the UFC. He remains undefeated and is champing at the bit, as they say. Or is it chomping?
It's champing, and I'm very proud of you right now. Thank you.
Well, I do think it is chomping, but I think it's pronounced. I think it's champing, but I think it's pronounced more chomping.
I think people have just thrown caution to the wind to just say whatever the hell they want, but it's actually champing.
So, are you making a reference to another misnomer when you say caution to the wind?
I am actually, yes.
Which one's that? Like,
no,
what should?
No, I misunderstood what you're asking. I thought you meant another. You know what?
I thought there's a couple of them like nip in the bud.
Oh, what is it? Irregardless.
Yes, couldn't care less.
Legit. God, I hate that one.
No, I say that one a lot.
I'd say legitimately. What's wrong with that?
That's true. I say legit a lot. I don't know if that's a knock on me or anything. But fine. Anyway.
Still got that aura.
Yeah. Champing at the bit. Anyway, Lerone Murphy, he'll join us as well. So stay tuned for the Francis Dana deep dive. That comes in the second hour. And I think it will be of great interest to a lot of you. But let us talk about 308, what transpired on Saturday at the... People say I'm pronouncing Etihad Arena incorrectly. Etihad. Is it because I'm saying Eddie? Etihad? Do you prefer Etihad? It's sort of like Toronto. Like, we don't say Toronto. We say Toronto. So if you prefer Etihad, then fine. By the way, speaking of the United Arab Emirates and Abu Dhabi / Dubai, are you guys familiar with this Dubai chocolate? Anyone hear about this?
No, tell us.
Well, I was walking by a store yesterday, like a chocolate / nut store, and they were advertising Dubai chocolate. And my son Walter told me that this is what everyone's talking about on YouTube in particular. There's a ton of videos, people reviewing them, trying them. It's a huge hit. And so we had to buy it. And then I told my sister about it. And she too said she's heard all about it. And then my dad went to buy it. So anyway, it's a chocolate that is sort of like has a hard shell, and then it has pistachio and ketafia or something. It's not quite. My son told me baklava in between, but it's not baklava. But it has that sort of
like
peanutty pistachio paste, almost like a little of a wetter texture than if it was like a Reese's. But it has like a peanutty coffee taste. Phenomenal
for real.
Have you tried it?
I haven't tried it.
Oh.
I'm looking at pictures of it, and like this looks right up my alley.
It's all the
You're
rage.
bringing some tomorrow, you said.
Well, we ate it all.
Let's go get some tonight after the show.
I don't know why
What the
it's such
fuck is that?
No. Francis, you're wrong. It's fantastic. You got to try it. You have to try it, because I don't know where he found out that it's all the rage and why it has become. But if you Google Dubai chocolate, there's all these reviews. There's all these things about it. So in honor of 308, actually, you guys should have done a fight feast. on the Dubai chocolate.
We'll do a makeshift one after the show tonight. There's
All
a
right,
chocolate
yeah,
store near
a
me.
little review.
Do
That
you
would
think
be
your
nice.
dad's on TikTok? Is that maybe where this came from?
Oh, well, no, my son was the one who confirmed, but no one uses TikTok more than my dad.
I believe it.
My dad is a hardcore TikTok user, all day sending me stuff from TikTok. So I don't know if you were mocking him.
No, I follow him.
Oh, wow, that's good. He doesn't post much, but he's certainly all about it. Okay, so we had the Dubai chocolate, but 308 has come and gone, and Ilia Topuria is the man. Ilia Topuria is the still reigning and defending UFC featherweight champion. What a performance against Max Holloway. He becomes the first man to knock out Max Holloway. He hands Max Holloway his first stoppage loss, believe it or not, since his UFC debut back in February of 2012. And again, this is an Ilia Topuria who is still relatively young, just 27 years young, goes in there, talks the talk, walks the walk, said he'd be the first one to knock him out, no problem, goes in there, third round. Now, you can make the argument 1-1 going into the third, but, I mean, the action from the get-go was as high level as it got. The boxing was great. The kickboxing is great. The oblique kicks, the calf kicks. I mean, just look at these shots right here. It was everything we wanted this fight to be and more. He hits him with a right hand, just absolute vicious right hand. That clearly rocked Max Holloway. Goes to the body, left hook to the face, ground and pound. That's all she wrote. He gives off the bow, a show of respect, reminiscent of Mayhem Miller and Kazushi Sakuraba back in the day. That's what I thought of. Certainly not the only time it's happened. And then in the middle of the cage, a little tea drink. I guess it could have been an espresso, but it was certainly this. I thought of, Kermit the Frog, that meme, and then you got the whole family in there. You got Sergio Ramos in there. And to me, this felt a little different than what transpired in February. February was his arrival. There were still questions about him going into that fight, and there were still some questions, let's be fair, going out of that fight. Going into that fight, he had, really one super high-profile win, and that was the Josh Emmett fight, which happened 8 months prior. He fights an Alex Volkanovski that took a fight on short notice just about 4 months prior. He gets knocked out. First time, we ever see him in danger like that. The questions were, would that change him? The questions were, would he be coming back too soon? Would that affect him? And so even though Ilia won decisively, I still felt like there were some questions. Fast forward 2 months, Max takes the fight against Justin Gaethje, and it's a one-sided beatdown. It's a knockout of the year. As of right now, still in my opinion, the knockout of the year. It's an iconic moment. And they do flash Ilia on the screen, and everyone's like, oh, he's scared, he's spooked, this and that. Never believed that for a moment. But there was this doubt that he is meeting a revived Max Holloway, a Max Holloway who's enjoying this resurgence, all this stuff. And Max looked great. But in the end, this is Ilia's time. And so to me, February was the arrival. This past Saturday was the birth of his superstardom. This past Saturday was him announcing to the world that he is one of the faces of the UFC, that he is an actual superstar, that he can back it all up, that he can talk the talk, that he's got the aura, he's got the charisma, he's got the look, he's got the branding, he's got the backing of 2 major countries. He's got a whole freaking market that has never enjoyed any kind of success as far as MMA is concerned. Spain. He's the one leading the charge from Georgia as well. It's such a unique. You look at that guy. There's no one that is indifferent towards Ilia Topuria. You look at Ilia Topuria and you either love everything that he's about, you love that he's talking the talk, you love the way he dresses, the way he talks, or he bothers you. You think he's cocky. You think he's disrespectful, this, that. I don't think he is, to be honest. I mean, you saw what he said to Volk afterwards. You saw what he said about Max. I don't think he is, but I can see how people may feel that way. But you feel something. And it's also very reminiscent of a few years ago with Conor because of his age. He's just 27. He's just getting started. And again, as I said in the post show, I do have to give massive credit to Malki Kawa and Abe Kawa. They told me years ago they found the guy in Spain who's going to be the next big deal. And my initial reaction was like, yeah, this is just another example of an agent manager saying, I got the guy, this is going to be the next, he's going to be the next big thing, all that stuff. I'm more like, who comes from Spain? Like who emerges from Spain to be a UFC champion? and they were right. And they were right. I mean, he is an absolute stud, a superstar. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see where he goes from here. And as I said before the fight, this was really a win-win for the UFC. From a business standpoint, better for the UFC to have Ilia as champion right now because of, the keys that he holds to all these different markets, because he's fresh, because he's young, all that stuff. Max is still the BMF champion. They can promote it whichever way they want in his next fight, if in fact he defends it. But Max is so popular and has done so much in his career, he doesn't need the belt. He doesn't need to be in title fights. He could still headline ESPN Plus shows, ESPN shows, pay-per-views with the BMF title. He doesn't need it. Ilia does need it at this juncture. If he would have lost, he would have gone all the way to the back of the line and people would have said he was a fraud and all this stuff. And so I think this is a win-win for the UFC. That they are just giddy over the possibilities. Dana White already revealing that they've talked to Madrid and Barcelona. I think they need to do everything in their power to figure out how to go to the Bernabeu. If they can go to one of those markets, he'll be treated like an absolute superstar, like an absolute stud. Max will be fine. There are plenty of options out there. He said, give me Dustin. Who wouldn't sign up for that? If the Conor fight is out there, who wouldn't sign up for that? If there's a litany of other people at 55 or even 45, who doesn't sign up for Max at this stage of his career? He's still relatively young as well. He's taken shots. He's been around. It's incredible, his longevity. It's because he entered the UFC at such a young age, 20 years young. But he's still so very popular. On Bill Simmons' show on Thursday, Bill asked me who to compare him to, and I was struggling in the NBA, and I was struggling with an example. But the next day, Rick hit me up, and he was 100% right. He's Steph Curry. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to be like him. Everyone admires him. No one, really truly hates him. And so he's still that guy, whether he's a champion or not. So I think this was the absolute best case scenario for the UFC. Now the question is, will Topuria's next fight be in Spain? Will they bring him somewhere else? There doesn't appear to be a ton of questions as far as who's next for him. That appears to be Alex Volkanovski, and I can't wait. And I think Alex Volkanovski deserves it. He gave a second chance to Max, actually a third as well. The Aldo fights, all that stuff. Like, he has been that guy for the UFC, and has done everything that they've asked of him and more, showing up to be a backup fighter here, to be a backup fighter there, traveling long distances. It's got to be Alex Volkanovski. And there's no guy waiting there. It's not like a Magomed Ankalaev situation with Roundtree fighting Pereira where you're like, oh gosh, they're skipping over this guy. Diego Lopez was the backup fighter on Saturday, and he's probably one away at this point, but he's not getting screwed here. There's plenty of time for him to fight for a belt as well. So featherweight alive and well. I've reacted to it. I didn't get a ton of reaction from everyone on the team. So let us say hello to everyone on the team on this beautiful Monday afternoon. Yes, they're the lads. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Well, we had actually Rick and GC reacting to the Topuria win on the watch party. This would be a good time to show that in case you missed it. Here are the boys live watch party, redecorating our beautiful studio here, reacting.
It looked great.
It did look fantastic. It did look
flags.
fantastic.
We got to iron them next time, but the flags look
No, I thought it was a great look. It was just like, we don't care.
Iron!
Yeah. Here they are reacting to Topuria's win over Max Holloway.
I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen that. Another big right.
Max is.
Oh my God! Max Holloway just finished him! He just knocked out Max Holloway!
Wow.
This dude is a fucking freak! Oh my God! Oh my God! Holy shit! Oh my God! I cannot believe this. He slept Max Holloway. He slept Max Holloway.
Oh my God!
GC's
I cannot believe that.
He's
He's
the
a
guy.
fucking freak. He's a
the
freak.
guy.
on his knees
Oh
for 30
my
seconds.
God.
My God.
Holy shit.
What's going on in your mind there, GC?
I just couldn't believe that we were actually watching it, and a lot of people pointed out the he's a fucking freak straight into dropping to my knees. Like, I just kind of like blacked out. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock, man. I mean, Topuria he just does everything that he says he's going to do. He said he was going to be the first guy to knock out Max Holloway. And that's what he did. He gave us an insane moment. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I mean, you saw the reaction right there.
This guy's a fucking freak is an all-time call. It's like he just nailed that.
I mean, he has a freakish right hand and a left hand. Shades of Semtex Daily, PT. We've all kind of weighed in at this point. You haven't had that opportunity. Your thoughts on what we saw Saturday from Ilia Topuria?
Absolutely brilliant. I agree with you on that. It's a superstar moment. And, you talk about Malky and the lads finding Topuria, and you're dead right. There was something about the guy very early on. I remember he popped up in Cage Warriors to fight Brian Bouland, a really, really good Belgian bantamweight in 2018. Ilia missed weight, but we'd never heard of him on this scene. And we're like, this must be some guy they're serving up to Brian Bouland for a big win to put him in the title picture. And Topuria went through him like a knife through butter. And ever since then, he's just been that finisher, been that guy kind of believing in himself, talking out loud about how he's the best and then proving it. And really, it's a testament to him and how big he is, what he's doing, how incredible it is that, for all the talk over the years of stadium shows, be it Cowboy Stadium, be it Crow Park, Allegiant Stadium, Las Vegas, it seems like the most likely stadium show the UFC is going to do is either in Santiago Bernabeu or the Camp Nou at this stage. So incredible stuff. I just really hope we get that moment. Like, this is something that we talk about very often. When something like this happens, we're all focused on, let's do the stadium show. Let's have that big moment for the sport, especially in Europe where it's, bounds behind where it is in the US. If they did something like that, it would be incredible. I just hope they actually make it happen. And I know there's a lot of things to go along with that, like, stadiums in general, open air, all that kind of stuff, just the logistics of having that many people at an event. But surely they have to strike while the iron's hot here.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The new Bernabeu, doesn't it have a retractable roof?
That's right, yeah. That's what I've been told too.
They made all these renovations to it, right? And this thing that the pitch opens up and all that stuff. So it seems, and he is such a staunch Madrid supporter.
Yes.
That whole thing on Saturday where this just so happened to go, head to head with El Clasico, Barcelona versus Madrid, and then the president of La Liga weighing in. Have you seen that? It's unbelievable. Yes. He's weighing in saying like, hey, don't take it out on us. We didn't know this was going to happen. Is just completely absurd and just speaks to how big of a star he's become in such a short amount of time. And what about Daniel Cormier, that troll? We see the moment of him whispering in his ear. This guy's over the moon. He's a hardcore fan. And what does he whisper in his ear in that moment? He whispers that they're down 2-0 at that time. Why would you say that to him? You know what that is? That's a Max Holloway friend trying to rain on Topuria's career, on his parade. Like, why would you try? Like, if I had a great moment in my life and someone's like, yeah, the Knicks are losing by 20 to the Celtics, that would kind of dampen my mood. That would annoy me. Why would he do it right then and there? Also shows how big of a football fan DC is these days. This is the middle of the pay-per-view broadcast, and he's up to speed on the score.
Yeah, that's what I thought myself.
Yeah.
Fair play, Cormier. But the tea drinking thing is actually a Sergio Ramos celebration. So Sergio Ramos was in the building, and he did a kind of a variation of this tea drinking thing. He used to do it with another player where they'd link arms and do the tea. So I think that was
wow. I love that. Okay, thank you. See, it's good to have a European on the team here to explain. How big is the Sergio Ramos link up between him and Topuria?
And look, you just mentioned La Liga there a minute ago, Ariel. They're actually partners with the UFC La Liga.
Mm-hmm.
As in, when they're showing games over there, they'll have, the likes of Topuria there. They'll be referencing upcoming UFC events during the La Liga broadcast, which makes it an even more open goal, you'd imagine, for this to happen. Ramos thing is huge. Like, you're talking about one of the icons of Spanish football, World Cup winner, multiple time Champions League winner, the legend of Real Madrid, and one of the greatest football players from one of the greatest football nations. You really can't get much better than him, and a true icon of Madrid. I think he's really put Ilia over to a whole new fan base, and things like this don't happen very often. Like when you have a guy from MMA getting that kind of mainstream approval, I guess you'd say. So it's massive. It feels like it's closer than ever. I want to ask you, though, how likely do you think it is? Because you tend to shatter my dreams every time I'm getting very hyped up about the possibility of a European stadium show.
I mean,
which has never happened, to be fair.
Sure. The fact that Dana said they're talking to Barcelona, Madrid is promising. He also said he was talking about the stadiums, Bernabeu, Camp Nou, as the backups, which was wild. Like he said, we'll look at the arenas, and if we have to do a stadium, we'll do a stadium. But I think he just likes the intimacy. I think he likes to be able to control. I think he doesn't like the fact that the octagon looks small in the midst of a sea of people, but it just makes him out to be such a big deal and such a bigger star. I could be wrong. I mean, I certainly know that there's never been a major MMA show at one of these stadiums. Has there been boxing or something like that? I don't know. I doubt it. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's so tribal, and he's such a Madrid supporter. I do sort of think like it will hit a little different if it's at Camp Nou, right, where Barcelona plays. Like it has to be Bernabeu or nothing, right?
Yeah, these are like the two biggest rivals in world football.
Yeah, you can't bring.
You know how toxic it is in the football world, Ariel. If anyone knows, you know.
Yeah, sure. Certainly, yeah.
Even like they are. It's a funny moment if you go back and watch the press conference on Thursday. Dana mentions that Barcelona is one of the possibilities. You'd imagine that this would be a brilliant moment for Topuria no matter what, but straight away he's like, no, not Barcelona.
Yeah.
Not Barcelona. I feel like if they want to put him, if they want Topuria to put his best foot forward, they do it in Madrid. He knows all the players. Did you see him walking on the pitch when all the players are running over to shake his hand to be like, oh my God, this is great. I'm getting to meet Ilia Topuria. It's insane. One issue, I do feel like they have opened like a state-of-the-art arena in Madrid too. Like, I don't know if it's open that long, but you're talking exactly what the UFC look for when they're trying to do events. I think it's like 18 to 20,000. Absolutely perfect for a UFC event. So I fear that would be a way too appealing option for the UFC to pass up instead of doing this gargantuan stadium, which will have to change their production, everything, probably to the scale of what we saw at the Sphere, to be fair, because just of the sheer size of this thing.
So Rick, you guys were freaking out over what we saw. Should it be that big of a surprise? Like, I felt like when Max lost the third fight to Volkanovski, I didn't see this renaissance coming. What he did to Calvin Kattar, to Arnold Allen, certainly to Justin Gaethje. But at some point, you had a feeling like it could come if he fought a heavy puncher because of all the damage he's taken, because of all the shots he's taken, and because of his just longevity in the sport. It gets everyone at some point. And so this is not me Monday morning quarterbacking, but I felt like Topuria was the favorite, and rightfully so. And I felt like he was tailor-made to get Max because of how hard he punches.
I wasn't there personally. I can't speak for like what the general sentiment is. Like, Ilia Topuria was a pretty decent sized favorite, and Max was a pretty decent sized underdog. So I think the general public sentiment seemed to land in that spot. For me, though, Max has one of those chins that's like God tier, legendary, top of the top, cream of the crop, and eventually those go, but you kind of have to see it. And for me, I needed to see it, and we saw it on Saturday. Now, I will say for the record, like, it seemed like Ilia had to land like 3 nukes on him before he really went down. So it still speaks to the durability that Max Holloway has, even after absorbing like the most strikes ever while dishing out the most strikes ever. I needed to see it. I definitely did not discount that possibility. I definitely thought Ilia could knock him out. There was no doubt. He's just so clean technically. It's not like a Francis Ngannou, just like touch of death, Deontay Wilder. It's that he is so technically clean and his hands are so fast and he's so crafty that he just puts you in these positions where you can't avoid the big shot. So I thought it was a possibility, but I had to see it because of how much respect I have for Max's durability.
All right, so I have a revelation to make.
Yes.
3 weeks ago, in our Pardon Our Dust post 307 show, I believe it was.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, I believe.
I think I know where this is going.
I believe I was very decisive in my stance that I don't care what happens at 308. Alex Pereira is the male fighter of the year. Not only that, he's the MVP of the UFC, and on it goes. And I believe I even name-checked Shaheen Al-Shadi, who said, if something like this happens, it's Ilia, or if Max wins. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Now, here's what I want to say. And I have no problem, putting my hands up. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, after the show on Saturday, I went for a run at like 9 p.m. and I tripped on the sidewalk, uneven sidewalk, face plant. Luckily, the moneymaker's okay, but I don't know. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
there?
And your
Knees all
fingertip,
beat
right?
up. I mean, it was.
Wow, that's tough right there. That
It was-
hand, yeah.
It was ugly. It was face. It was
How
like
about,
this.
How about the post-event run?
Yeah, had to clear some steam.
I was
like it.
amped
I was
up.
fired up. Yeah, total face plant, knee, shoulder, hurting.
Should have posted
Yeah,
pic.
it was so bad.
Right it up there with Whitaker's picture, you know.
And it all kind of happened in slow motion. It was tough. It was tough. It was tough on the body.
It's tough.
Okay, let's get to the revelation, though.
Okay.
What is the
Let's
revelation?
hear it. You did some digesting on Sunday.
After you witness it, and after you see the superstardom, and after you digest the two fights, I do believe that there is now a discussion to be had.
There's absolutely a discussion.
There's a discussion to be had between who is in fact the male fighter of the year. Is it Alex Pereira, who won 3 fights this year, who defended his title successfully against Jamal Hill, who defended his title successfully against Yuri Prochazka, and then, of course, against Khalil Rountree, or Ilia Topuria, who defeated Volkanovski to win the title in February and then defeats Max Holloway to retain the title? 3 versus 2, which historically you always favor 3, but I feel like there is a very strong discussion to be had and very strong points to be made for both guys. And I was going through it, the pros and cons, yesterday, and so I want to ask you guys about this because I will lay it out. Alex Pereira won 3 times, Ilia won twice. If you do like a strength of schedule thing, you can make a strong case that the 2 wins, given who they are and their resumes and their stature in the sport, are greater than the 3 combined here. Now, you can also talk about Pereira taking a fight on short notice, 300, super short notice, 303, and relatively short notice, 307. One of those wins against someone he already beat. Another one of those wins against a guy coming off an Achilles injury. Another one of those wins coming off a guy who was ranked 8th, as opposed to this guy, Ilia Topuria, who's beating arguably, the second greatest featherweight champion of all time, if not the first. And then if Volk is the second, Max is the third. And if Volk is the first, Max is maybe the third or the second. And then, of course, Jose Aldo's in there. Take your pick. And so I think there's a discussion to be had. I feel confident, though, in where I've ended up. But I think it was it Rick or GC there that said definitely? I think it might have been GC there. You agree there is now a discussion to be had as to it's not exactly fait accompli as I was suspecting we would feel on the Monday after 308.
I mean, to say that there isn't a discussion would be naive. I mean, what Ilia Topuria has done this year is unbelievable. I mean, you said it. It's the quality of these 2 wins. He won the title against Alexander Volkanovski, who had never lost at featherweight. I understand everyone is pointing to the Islam Makhachev head kick. He's coming back too soon. This guy had never been defeated at featherweight before, and he knocks him out in the second round. And now he goes against Max Holloway, who's 18-3 at featherweight over the last 10 years. Those 3 losses only being to Alexander Volkanovski, who he defeated earlier. And then just to call his shot, I'm going to be the first to knock out Max Holloway, and he does so in the third round. It's the fact that not only are these guys all-time greats in the division, it's the way that he's winning as well. Knocking out both these dudes, being the first guy to knock out Max Holloway. He's become this superstar of the sport. He's had, back-to-back wins, in UFC history, this has to make a short list of the greatest back-to-back wins ever. To say that there's not even a discussion would be ridiculous in my opinion.
Okay, so as of right now, and feel free to say no, our show is in January. Do you have a pick in your mind?
I'm like you. I'm trying not to have recency bias after watching that insane event on Saturday, that insane moment, because everything that Alex Pereira has done this year is also unbelievable. 3 title defenses. I think it's the fastest time to get to 3 title defenses in UFC history, if I'm not mistaken. He beat Ronda on that. And just the way that he did those as well. All 3 coming by knockout, all 3 in massive spots, saving cards for the UFC, saving the promotion. It's amazing that we get to have this discussion, that we have these 2 unbelievable fighters, these 2 superstars of the sport. So I have not decided yet. I need to digest more. I need to get away from Saturday. I need to get further away. So my official decision will come in January.
PT? How did you feel before Saturday and any pause on the Monday?
I felt like I was with Al Shadi. I thought, it was an open book when Ilia could have knocked. I actually thought he would knock Max out, as outrageous a prediction that is, given Max granite chin. He's like a lighter weight Mark Hunt. But look, is it just about fighting? Fighter of the year? I'm asking you.
Is that
No.
rhetorical or legit?
Yeah, I don't know. I
No,
thought
I'm
you would say
asking you.
something
Is
after
it is it just about fighting?
that. No, I
For
think
me-
there's other factors.
I agree. I think it's the context. I think it's the story. It's not just the
Agreed.
result.
I think
in
so
my
too.
opinion.
Well, that's when you look at Pereira becoming the cultural resonance he's had. A guy who can't speak English becoming the face of this promotion. A guy stepping up on short notice when the supposed superstar of the group, Conor McGregor, can't deliver. Here comes Pereira. Then he shows up again with the same injury, it appears, that McGregor had to pull out for, and wins by KO. I do not put the same amount of value on Pereira's wins as I do Topuria's. I don't think you can correlate Jamal Hill, Prohaska coming off an injury, and then of course Roundtree. I don't think you can correlate that to the Volkanovski and Max Holloway when it comes to featherweights. I think Ilia is leaps and bounds ahead, but as you say, it's about much more than fighting. And Pereira has been an absolute. He has been the guy all year. I think he's the face of the promotion. I agree with GC. It's fantastic that it feels like they have superstars in different regions here now, because Topuria is blowing up over here. He's obviously blowing up in the US, but not to the level of a Pereira, I feel. So, yeah, I think it's very much in the air, and I'm looking forward to the show in January.
What about you, Eric?
I'm still on Alex Pereira, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'm going to waver.
Did what happened on Saturday give you any kind of pause? By the way, just for the record, I put up a poll Saturday night. 22,418 people voted. 69.6% for Alex Pereira.
Oh wow,
30.4%
I'm
And that's-
surprised that on Saturday. it
On
didn't-
Saturday, like
Yeah,
an-
that's fresh off.
an
the
hour
moment.
later.
I would imagine it would only get larger as we get
And-
closer to January.
All right, so in case you're wondering, right now in the YouTube poll, 67% for Pereira,
So pretty
33% for Topuria.
I will obviously get into this as the year goes on and into January. For me, the context matters. The story matters. I had Alex Pereira as the fighter of the year in 2023 when most people had Sean Strickland because of the story, because of the context, and it is about more than just what on paper the wins say. To me, headlining UFC 300 when they were scrambling for something on short notice, to me coming in with a broken toe and fighting again, to me headlining once again in Utah on short notice. Alex Pereira goes in there and delivers every single time. The strength of competition is not equal, but you can kind of just do a little bit of the math of the three gets close to the two, in my opinion. It still does not surpass it. I think those two wins are monumental, and the math still favors Ilia Topuria there. But then when you consider the context, to me, Alex gets the edge, and I remain with Alex.
It is such a fun debate, this particular one, because usually 3 versus 2, the debate's over. Usually it's a 3 versus 3, and now you have something interesting to talk about. But because those two wins were so impressive, so decisive, and against two of the three greatest champions in that weight class, man. But then the short notice and the way he saved the UFC and the way he beat those guys, it wasn't like there was any
That's right.
Super close fight there. Those were all decisive as well, but against, top 8, top 5, top whatever. Man.
One thing I just want to add, you mentioned Volk and Max as all-time greats. I think that's a very important part of the convo, but I think more important is to also point out the best right now as well. That's the thing that makes it so impressive for me, is that Volk and Max are still the best guys now, right now, in this moment in time, and he has those wins over them. It's astonishing stuff. It might be the best 2 back-to-back wins I can think of off the top of my head. Like I haven't really thought about it much since Saturday. But to knock off those 2 back-to-back is up there all time for back-to-back wins.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot. John Jones beating Shogun and then beating Rampage in their prime, 128 and 135 was incredible. There's been some, but to beat literally 2 and 3 is pretty damn remarkable. I'm still leaning towards Alex because it's 3 versus 2, because of the short notice, because of what he did. It's a conversation, and I'm reserving the right to make my final decision on our award show in January. I am no longer saying you're an absolute, I never said
Kind of
buffoon,
pissed.
but like
That's how you felt, though.
Do
Yeah.
you think you would have felt the
That's what
same
I-
way if Max won? Do you think that would have
no.
gotten in the convo?
No.
It had to be Volk and Max dropping to
Do you
Ilia.
think if Ilia had won by decision, you would change? Like you would be like
Close decision
yeah,
or dominant?
49-46.
Probably not. To be the first one to knock out Max Holloway.
I think the context matters.
Yeah.
I think it does matter. I mean, we had this exact conversation last week, and I was just like, oh yeah, if he knocks him out, there's a discussion.
Yeah, no. But
We
then
clipped it, and I got told I
had
was
to
told
see it.
I was
You had to see it.
absolutely
once you
insane.
see it,
I
once
know.
you freaking see the guy out
I'm
there.
not talking just about you on Instagram.
know.
My notifications all week were just like, get this fucking guy off the show. He doesn't know shit.
No. Once you see it, it's 100% a real thing. Anyone have an issue with Volk being next?
No.
Nah, come on, man. He's
What
one
else
of
would
the
it
greatest
be?
featherweights of all time.
Diego? Like, what's the next?
Yeah, it would be just Diego.
Nah, Volk is next. Earned
like
it.
Pete-
And
Pizzi
I
had
like
an
the
issue there.
dynamic. No, I like it, and I like the dynamic as well. I think we're going to see Ilia in a different way. You know, he's always been the kind of fired up guy, seemingly with this chip on his shoulder, as these people just don't understand how damn hard I hit. But Volk obviously does, and they seem to be quite cordial with each other. So I like that. And before we move on from Holloway, I thought he did a great job in spells of that fight too. I mean,
Oh,
I think
yeah.
it makes
Spells?
Ilia's
Like
yeah,
the whole
I think
fight.
I think it makes Ilia's win so much better when you consider he had to come through. Holloway looking vintage early on, you know, like really disturbing any kind of rhythm that Ilia was trying to establish. He was hitting with beautiful shots. I thought he looked on fire early. You know, I was like, Jesus, this is going to be a tough night for Ilia. Go ahead, sorry, Rick.
I was just gonna say right before the knockout, that last oblique kick looked like it really did some significant damage to the leg too. Like that was a hell of a fight by Max, but I mean Ilia just next level.
His game plan was great. We did note that it seemed like there was some sort of welt that formed. A lot of people reminded me afterwards that I guess there's a scar that I just never noticed. I'm sorry, I haven't examined.
I was with you. I
Ilia's-
thought it was well too.
Yeah, I mean, just I guess the way it hit, and then I just was looking straight at it. I didn't notice.
He also had an adverse reaction to that. That was the first one that really like buckled it.
Yeah,
And so yeah, Pizzi's right. Like that was not like a diminished version of Max Holloway. The Volk fight, I think some people will say, you know, the Islam fights, and he came back to there's always going to be some kind of reasoning. That looked like Max Holloway that I've seen before in there, and he dismantled him.
Pizzi, could we were just talking about stadium shows or maybe an arena in Spain. Can we commit to a boys trip if Ilia Topuria fights in Spain?
I've been saying this, like, I know you'll be down. Like,
I'm
that's what I'm
there.
saying.
I was
If it
down to
goes
go for if it
Spain-
was going to be Holloway Topuria there. I was like, I'm going. I'll break the bank. I don't care. If he fights in Spain, I gotta go.
Surely we can write this off, Ariel, right?
Yeah,
Like, when
yeah.
we
100%.
go to
No,
Spain.
100%.
Thanks.
It's already
Five-star
done.
hotel. We need a 5-star hotel and a suite to do fight feast from, though.
To really
fight
get
feast,
involved,
We'll
yeah.
do a reaction
Yeah.
right afterward. Yeah, it'll be good stuff. Great content for the company.
Thanks, Ariel. Cheers. Looking forward to that.
pleasure. Salute or what do they say?
Gracias.
I don't know. We'll take Spanish classes leading up.
Yes.
That'll go on the company
Yes,
dime.
yes,
That's also in the company.
Yeah.
Yes.
One-on-one tutoring sessions.
Is there any part of you guys who thinks that they try to do Topuria versus Connor
Not next, you mean?
next?
Oh no.
He said, "Call
What
me."
weight division is it going to happen in?
That's
Why are we
70.
still
Has
talking
to be
about Conor
170.
McGregor? This is mental. How many times do
wow.
we have to do this? I mean, I've been doing this for 3 years now. Every time, the fight's booked. He's coming back.
He
He's
said,
coming
"Call
back."
me.
Did he not retire yesterday?
Oh, I don't know what that was about.
Like this morning, I feel like
no,
it was.
he's not
I
retired.
love how, like
lads.
every time he goes on one of these tweet
What?
storms, you go back the next day and they're just all gone. Like it's like
What
some
the
of
fuck
them
are we
aren't even
talking
back.
about? What is this? The featherweight champion of the world. He's about to fight in Spain. What's the worst thing we can do? Let's put him in there with Connor.
Can
What
you
could
not
possibly go
acknowledge if
wrong?
they did
Wait,
book
the
it?
worst
It would
thing?
be. Could you not acknowledge if they did book it? It would be insane business, right? If they did book it,
Monumental.
I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying it's a thing, but I just my mind went there because there's so many similarities between them in terms of, and I don't even subscribe to the notion that not every cocky person is a Conor McGregor impersonator, right? It drives me nuts when it's like, oh, he's just playing a like there have been cocky people out there prior to Conor McGregor. Not everyone is. He may have been the best at it. I don't think Topuria is playing.
alpha.
He's not playing. He's not playing Conor McGregor. He's his own guy, and
No.
he is how he backs it all up. I'm just saying, if they did in fact figure that out one day, it would be gigantic. right? You have to
Yes,
agree on
look,
that,
fair
right,
enough.
PT?
Oh, well, look, if he fought like my ma, it would be huge. It's Conor McGregor, but it's like, I mean, is he gonna fight? Like,
Is that
I feel
the
like we
biggest
just get
fight?
worked up.
Is that the biggest fight
Right.
that they can make for Conor McGregor?
Me versus my ma.
Is that the
No,
I mean-
Islam. Islam would be bigger.
Yeah.
Islam.
those
I'm not gonna
fights
lie, PT. I didn't know what you were saying. Now I get it. My ma. Okay.
Islam having the Habib angle would take that to.
I don't know, man. I think
No,
Topuria is
come
more.
on. No.
Who's
I
more
do. I agree
popular?
with Ariel. I think it's bigger.
Are
I
you
think
guys
Ilia
out
and
of your
Conor do.
minds?
I think
The build
Habib in the corner.
The build to Topuria versus
No,
Conor
you
would
guys,
be
you guys are losing the plot here.
I think globally Islam is
yeah,
still a bigger
there's
star.
no way.
Can I also say I think there would be more people who would think that it would be a more
Competitive
even
fight.
Yes.
Yeah, but that doesn't
gonna
matter.
take place
This is
in-
not about. Is Conor McGregor's career now sold on what is a competitive fight? I don't
to a
think he's in
degree.
that.
I think
realm
both
anymore.
Topuria and Islam are likely sizable favorites over him.
Yeah.
Islam especially.
To me, that's not even if Islam versus Conor was even a possibility in the world. To me, that's gonna crush anything. But Ilia would be the next biggest.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Volk.
It has to.
They have a show scheduled for Australia in February. I can't imagine that happens. Even Topuria was saying like, nah, it's on my time. He did have a kid recently. So I'd be surprised if he comes back that soon. And credit to Volk, he also even said like, I'll go to Spain. I'll go anywhere. He just wants his belt back. Khamzat Chimaev, let me just say, there was a guy who looked exactly like me on the Boys in the Back program on Thursday who said, I'm not even going to joke about this. I said it. I did not see this coming. I wish I said how I felt like the main event was going to go because I felt just as confident. But remember, Rick, do you remember I was about to say and you're like, no, don't say it. Do you remember at one point?
Well, because I know you don't go out on the limb.
I
This
know.
way, so I tried
And
to
guess
be a
what?
good producer.
I'm going back to that stance. I'm not going on a limb anymore.
The limb was that I don't know the right word for it. You didn't just go out on a limb like you
I
went out.
felt it,
Really-
man.
There
I
was-
really felt it.
There was one sentence you said, no path to victory for
Rob
him.
Whittaker
no
felt
path.
it too.
No.
He definitely felt it.
I felt it, and I have to give him all the credit in the world. That was an incredible showing against one of the best fighters of all time in that weight class and of all time period. That looked like the Khamzat Chimaev of 2020. That looked like the Khamzat Chimaev that we all thought was going to be a champion by now 2-3 years. I don't know if anyone beats him at 185 if he looks like that. I think they should do Khamzat versus DDP, but I do want to make this very clear. If they already promised it to Sean Strickland, I'm not in favor of breaking promises. So they'll just have to wait. Now, everyone seems to think that the travel is going to be okay. Let's take their word for it and just move on from that. Obviously, if it's an issue, then it's an issue that needs to be addressed, and that might preclude him from becoming a champion or even fighting for the belt. But I was absolutely blown away. I couldn't have gotten it wrong. There's nothing that I can say to rectify my bad pick. People make predictions. You go out on a limb, you screw up, you say, I fucked up, all credit to him. To take Robert Whittaker down that quickly, he looks evil in that photo. To take him down and terrifying, and then to do what he did to him, to break his jaw, to neck crank him, where Robert Whittaker is tapping that quickly, that's the guy that we saw in 2020 that we were all blown away by. And I don't think there's a middleweight on the planet that beats that version of him. I don't, including the champion and including Sean Strickland. I was absolutely blown away by how quickly he did it, how vicious it was, how decisive it was, how one-sided it was. How it felt like those videos, Ben Askren squeezing a watermelon and the thing just pops. Blown away by that. Does anyone feel like they should call an audible and just make that title fight now, DDP versus Khamzat? It's by far the bigger fight. You do.
My hand is up.
So if you're Sean Strickland, how do you feel right now? Too bad?
I don't give a like if I'm Sean Strickland, I feel like I got done wrong because I think he felt like he deserved it already. Tough cookies. I don't know what to say to you. Khamzat Chimaev is the champion of the division. Like everybody else is fighting for his belt at this point.
You can understand like there is some issues here, right? We talked about it before. Like it's to make this guy the champion. And look, I was blown away by the guy. I wanted this guy to fight for a title for so long, but the inconsistency, the issue with locations, there was a lot of things to consider when putting Chimaev in that spot. Does he deserve the shot? Absolutely. He's terrifying. He's brilliant. He's explosive. I am blown away every time I watch this guy. like a guy of Whitaker's level, like a champion, one of the great middleweights. He knows exactly what Khamzat is trying to do, and within 15 seconds, Khamzat did it to him. That's crazy. That is really crazy. To be that good at your number one skill set that everybody knows it's coming, but they cannot do anything about it. And the explosion, the distance he covers with these shots, he's absolutely brilliant when it comes to actually fighting. But there are a lot of issues here. And if I was Sean Strickland, I'd be very annoyed with New York, Rick, after what he just said.
Yeah, no, 100%. But if you actually look at the body of work, like Sean Strickland, he gets a title shot against Izzy off a win over Abu Magomedov. Prior to that, he had a win over Imavov at light heavyweight, short notice fight. Prior to that, he had 2 straight losses to Jared Cannonier and Alex Pereira. He beats Izzy, of course. He loses to DDP. He beats Paulo Costa. That's the body of work. It's not exactly like, holy shit, what a run. As opposed to Khamzat at this point, win over Robert Whitaker, win over Kamaru Usman. I know he's a 170-pounder moving up to 185, but he's still one of the best fighters of all time. Short notice win over Kevin Holland, win over Gilbert Burns, win over Li Jingliang. I know Burns is 170, but still, like and then we get into the Gerald Meerschaert run. It hasn't been as many fights because he's been out for so long. He's been averaging pretty much one a year. Khamzat's resume is just as good. The win over Whitaker versus a win over Costa is just as good, if not better. I mean, it's
the
Robert
span of time.
freaking Whitaker.
It's the span of time. It took Khamzat too long to kind of compile those. In the meantime, Strickland had that fight that some people believe he won. I thought was a very, very close competitive fight with DDP, which is his best case, right? His best case is, I think I beat this guy. There's other people who think I beat this guy. I deserve a crack. And it's a compelling argument. But for business, man, it's Khamzat. But to Pizzi's point, like, the mystery around could it happen, where could it happen, when could it happen, needs to be resolved. Until we can put a pin in that, there's nothing to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that they run Strickland DDP early 2025, and then, we see Khamzat again around this time next year fighting for the belt.
But I think Pizzi's right. Like, there's implications. If the timing works that way, and then we have it in the Middle East, what happens after that? Where does he defend it? How many times can he defend it?
Do you schedule fight nights in the Middle East just so he can fight?
Well, this is something that I thought was interesting during the week. Like, on several occasions, Dana was asked about, are you going to broaden the Middle Eastern schedule? And he said yes.
Yeah.
So part of me is like, if they are going to have concerted, efforts multiple times a year there, it does make it easier to cordon off a division, like, a division's champion if you are going back to this location. Like, let's not be disingenuous. There is Russian guys always on these cards. That's what they want over there. I was speaking to Dennis Goiko from Red Corner last week, and he was like, these are our home cards. We can't go to Russia now. Russian MMA fans feel like these are our home cards. So it wouldn't be absolutely wild to have Khamzat on, Abu Dhabi cards, Saudi Arabia cards, all those things. I guess we just need to see how broadened the schedule is in the Middle East. Like, could he reasonably defend his title every 6 months from that location if he cannot go to the US? If he can, is it really that big of a deal? And I'm genuinely asking, is it really that big of a deal?
I think it's a big deal.
If we knew. Yes, boy.
There's an even bigger sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's an even bigger problem, which is if he gets hurt, if he gets injured,
yes,
you've got one window, and then the next one comes around every so often.
Right.
The same thing we just saw with Islam, right? Islam was supposed to headline this card. Now we're pushing off Islam's fight many, many months. It's just when you try to thread the needle like this, the best laid plans just never go. They never go the way they're supposed to. And so you can do that, you can schedule that, but then what happens if his opponent gets injured? Now what? We're holding Khamzat again? So there's a lot of complications with this, and you started in the right spot, whereas like it is complicated to make this happen if we don't have clarity on what else could be possible.
Safe to say, though, Khamzat versus DDP is infinitely bigger from box office, pay-per-view, all that stuff and more than DDP Strickland 2. DDP Strickland 1 wasn't that good of a fight. It was fine, it was close, but it wasn't like, holy shit, fight of the year. Like, it just was kind of there.
Would Khamzat be the A side?
Against DDP?
Yeah, is he a bigger name?
Yes.
Oh, 1,000%, but he wouldn't walk out second.
No. I'm not.
course,
I'm not saying like he gets a different corner. I'm just saying, is he the biggest name in the
1,000%.
division?
Globally, Khamzat is huge, and he has this aura about him. As much as people, tried to write off the aura last week, undefeated, wins in such dominating fashion.
Not me. That was Ben Davis.
Yep.
I got
me?
quoted-
Shout out Ben Davis. Everyone else on Twitter. we love to play the game, the Instagram followers. I mean, Hamza Chimaev has like 9 million Instagram followers. He's competing with like the John Jones, the Style Benders, the Islam Makhachevs of the world. Like, he is incredibly popular.
Who wins that fight?
Hamza Chimaev.
Oh, okay, look, that is obviously the natural reaction after what we just saw.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's going to be the favorite, and everybody will favor him. But I found myself going back over Drix's body of work after this fight, and Robert Whittaker is Chimaev's best win. Dricus du Plessis has also knocked Robert Whittaker out.
Wow.
Which I think is, I think this is nearly more impressive than submitting Robert Whittaker, to be honest.
I don't know.
Not in the way that Hamza did it. Robert Whittaker didn't have a second in that fight that was positive.
We don't need this nuance. The Sean Strickland fight was a bit, come on, winner learn moment. Israel Adesanya though,
Yeah.
It was a great performance.
incredible. Like they are massive wins. Like, that's nearly not commensurate, because obviously we just talked about how great Ilia Topuria is, but it is like a diet version of what Topuria has done. Whittaker was the champion for a very long time. Adesanya, the champion for a generation of fighters basically there. I think those wins are so impressive, and to simply be like, oh, Chimaev's going to come in and fucking ragdoll this guy and it'll be over. I think that's really, really being unfair to DDP.
My hot take is that actually I thought the Strickland was one of the more impressive ones of that, because the whole rap on him was the same rap that Hamzat has, is like he can't last more than 2 rounds. What happens if he goes into the 5th round? And it turns out he's fine. Open nose, breathe, full airway breathing, nasal passages. DDP is a monster. And so I was impressed by that. Like, you're right. The body of work is there for him. I just don't see anybody on this planet who stops Hamza Chimaev from doing what he wants to do.
I'm so impressed with that version of Hamzat. It's great to see that version back. I think a lot of us, or at least I did, thought maybe that we would never see that version again. That is the boogeyman that we saw in 2020.
Terrifying.
I would love to see that fight against DDP, because DDP is so unorthodox, unconventional, somewhat awkward at times. I feel like he'll be able to, scramble and do the things that he does that sometimes don't look great, but he just kind of figures it out always. Credit to him. He did tweet saying that he wants to be the guy to take away Zoe, so it's not like he's shying away from the challenge. And the fight would just be so much bigger. I tend to think that they'll ultimately just do Strickland versus DDP because they promised it to Strickland. I tend to think that, but crazier things have happened. And then hopefully at some point next year, and the timing may actually work out for Hamzat, at least for next year, where they do this DDP fight some point, first quarter, and then we get to, October, and now it's time for another title fight, and they're back in Abu Dhabi. It may actually work out without them forcing the issue. We know that January is going to be Arman versus Islam, and that will be in mid-January, and it will be in California, and it will most likely be at the new Clippers Arena, the Intuit Dome, I believe it's called. Is it the Intuit Dome or the Intuit Arena?
The Intuit Dome, that's ridiculous.
Is it the Dome? Is it
don't know.
Intuit Dome? Yeah, which is beautiful. It looks unbelievable. February we know is Sydney, TBD on that, and then we get to March, April. I can't imagine them doing Strickland versus DDP in Sydney. There was all kinds of drama surrounding Strickland. The last time he went, political drama of him saying stuff, and I don't think, even though he was a favorite over there, I don't think they go back to Sydney with him. So maybe they do it March or April, and then we, if they do that fight, then October works out perfectly. By the way, shout out to both Robert Whittaker and Max Holloway, both handling the losses incredibly well. Whittaker messed up jaw and all. Like, to me, if I messed up my mouth like that, whatever it was that I was doing that messed up my mouth, I would just say, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. Here's Robert Whittaker, smile on his face, double thumbs up to the chat. Thank you, everyone, for all the love and support. It's a tough gig sometimes, but that's the business. Big congratulations to Hamzat. He was the better man tonight, and that's all there is to it. I felt great. Everything was on point, and I was ready. My jaw is good, but my teeth were moved in. Just like, my teeth were moved in. It's a good excuse to fix them properly now. Ha ha. I mean, what a guy. I'm disappointed, but I come back better from every setback and every challenge, so this is no different. I want to thank my team and everyone who supported me to get here. Time to go spend time with the family for a bit. Be back soon. How do you not love this guy? And then here's Max Holloway with a similar sentiment, showing grace, showing class, showing respect. Sometimes you get a highlight, then sometimes you're the highlight. This is why MMA is the craziest sport in the world. Congrats, excuse me, to El Matador, as to my family, friends, and supporters. We good. The Blessed Express ain't stopping here. We on our way to a new destination. Make sure you have your ticket. Get excited. Thank you all for the love and support. Much respect. And by the way, yes, in fact, Ilia did point to the center of the cage, and Max's response was, here you go, doing the Matador bull thing. And I thought Ilia's response to that was very interesting as well, saying, like, you're supposed to be the bull. Bull doesn't do that sort of thing. So all of that was great, and credit to all four fighters, really, for how they competed, but then, of course, the aftermath as well. Our first guest of the day, and a reminder, in about 30 minutes' time, we will talk much more about UFC 308. We have to talk about Magomed Ankalaev. Shara Bullet was a revelation as well. Jeff Neal with a huge win over RDA, who unfortunately got hurt. And we'll also go into the Francis Ngannou, Dana White stuff, so stay tuned for that deep dive. But our first guest of the day, I'm sure, was very interested in the main event. That's his weight class, but he had a great night as well. A massive win over Dan Ige. He remains unbeaten. He remains undefeated. The Miracle Man continues his run in the UFC. We're talking to Manchester's own Lerone Murphy, who's kind enough to join us right now. Hello, Lerone. How are you?
What's up, brother? I'm good, man. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations on the win, and congratulations on the decision. I heard on Friday on The Crack with PT Caro that you are sticking with the Miracle as your nickname. I was a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I was concerned that we were going to go with Iceman. You are the Miracle, my man. No one could say that. Yeah. That's yours. That's unique to you. So thank you for sticking with that, and well done on that choice.
Yeah, I have to stick with it, man. It's like you said, it's got its own meaning. I was just kind of got bored about telling the story, but I guess that's what people want to hear, innit?
Sure. And like I said, it's a part of your story, and what makes you so likable and so easy to root for. And so you gave us another reason to do that on Saturday with that hard-fought victory against Dan Ige. Was that fight tougher than you thought it was going to be going in?
Yeah, it was. I didn't underestimate Ige. He's been in there with the best of people. I highly rate him, actually. So I expected a tough fight, but I made it harder for myself. And I don't even want to make any excuses, but there was a few other factors that I believe played into why the fight went like that. But yeah, I believe I just made the fight harder than it was. But obviously, Dan brought the fight to me early, and yeah, he done well. And the knockdown was pretty sick.
When you say you made it harder on yourself, what do you mean by that?
I just believe I gave him the opportunity to knock me down. It was a sloppy swing from the southpaw, and he countered it well. But I made the fight hard. Even just the transitions in the third, I kept falling off the back and then giving up position. It was just a sloppy fight from me, I believe.
And I know you say you don't want to make excuses. You won the fight, so there's no real excuses when you win. Could you tell us about some of those things that you were dealing with? And are you referring to things before the fight or during the fight?
I think it was just a few different things, yeah. But one thing I will discuss is the weight cut. I had a good weight cut leading up to the fight. I'd done well, and I had like a kilo to cut in the morning or something small like that. And I ended up weighing it in about 143 or something, high end 143. And I was just like, and I depleted myself for nothing because my scales was broke. And then my rehydration was going wrong. I felt sick. And I didn't end up eating till about 1 o'clock, and I weighed in at 9 o'clock. So it just didn't feel right. And then obviously that affects the mental and stuff like that. But it's all part of the game, and I'm guessing a lot of other fighters go through it as well. So I wasn't even going to mention it.
Has that ever happened to you before?
It hasn't, and I don't want it to happen again. These are things I need to tighten up, because against the top opposition, them little 1%s there, you lose them little 1%s and you lose the fight.
How do you think that affected you on Saturday in terms of just like your energy and how you were feeling overall?
Just warming up and stuff like that. I just didn't feel like I had that pop. Didn't feel like I had that zip energy, and I think it's shown in the fight. I think it's shown in the fight. But listen, it was a good fight. It was a good scrap, entertaining, back and forth, competitive fight. So it's like I should even really be mention it really.
No, it's all good. We appreciate the honesty. Sometimes you see that when someone comes in, a couple pounds lighter, that means, I guess to the untrained eye, if you will, you'd say like, oh, easy weight cut, but that's usually a telltale sign that something went wrong, right? Because if you're weighing 143 for a 146 fight, no one wants to cut extra weight, right? So that's usually a sign that something went off.
Yeah, exactly. It don't really make sense. And like I said, I had a smooth cut up until the fight. I don't cut stupid weight. I do it professionally. And then I woke up on the morning of the weigh-ins 1 kilo over. That's nothing. That's 2.2 pounds or something. And they ended up cutting double that. So it's a mistake on my part. I had the dodgy scales, so I can't blame nobody but myself.
What were you thinking going into the second round after what transpired in the first?
Oh, I just thought it's on now. It's time to go to war now. I believe in myself. I always believe in myself. I made a mistake. I've been there before, and I've come back. I've come back. So it's just like for me, I've been there twice now. So it's just like, and I don't want to make a habit of that either. But it's just like it's a fight, man. It happens, and you can't dwell on the past in a fight. You just got to get it cracking and get back to it. And I felt like I turned it on in the second. Third round, I made a sloppy takedown attempt, and he countered it, and then that's what kind of evened up the round. But other than that, he didn't land a punch after that. After he dropped me, really.
You're trying, and your record would certainly back you up. You're trying to take that big step in the weight class. Was there any part of you that felt like you were putting yourself out there to try to get an emphatic victory, a stoppage? So usually how the game goes. You get one of those, it tends to vault you up a little quicker as opposed to several decisions in a row. Did that creep into your mindset at all?
Yeah, of course, man. I wanted to go out there and put on a clinic. I wanted to put on a big fight. I wanted to put on an excellent performance and get catapulted into the top of the division. It's all performance based in the UFC. I believe once you're in the top 15, you're 2 fights away from a title shot. You just need two solid performances. Nobody's ever finished Dan Ige. Is tough, and I knew that. I knew that going into the fight, but I believed I could have got the job done. So I went in there with that mindset, and he even said it in the interviews before. I just wanted to put it out there that that's what I was going for, and I wanted to make a statement that night.
What were you thinking before they read the scorecards?
I knew I wouldn't fight. But obviously you never know, right?
Yeah.
You never know. I looked at the statistics actually, and it was 16 significant strikes to me to his 3. He had control time, but he didn't throw a punch. And in MMA nowadays, even if you don't take him down, it's just a change of position, right? If you don't throw a punch, it's just a change of position. So I knew I won the fight. I knew it was close, but I definitely won the fight.
Did you stick around to watch the main event? Your weight class, like I said, eventually you want to be in that spot. Did you get a chance to watch it live?
I watched it at home. Yeah, we got back to the hotel. We put it on, but yeah, it's a great performance by Topuria. Max looked like he was picking up momentum as well. So, but Topuria touches guys to go down, and to stop him and Volk back to back, it's like the kid's on fire, man. Kid's on fire.
Were you expecting that?
I think everybody knew it was a 50-50 fight, but you have to expect that with him. It's like he done it to Volk, so it's like of course he can do it to Max too. The guy's got power.
I felt like there were some people even after the first Volk fight who weren't giving him the respect and credit that he deserved, and now I don't know, like you're just a hater if you do that. Like how can you not respect this guy after those 2 wins in particular? Not to mention the Josh Emmett win. How did you feel about him post Volk going into this one, and is that any different than how you feel about him now?
No, I seen his skills from a while back. I watch fights very deeply, and the technical aspects. And from the Josh Emmett fight, I think he gained my respect there. Like I knew he was the real deal from that fight. The skill set is shown in that fight. His boxing skills, his range, his footwork, and his power. And I just knew from then. So going into the Max fight, I knew it was a 50-50 fight, and I knew he could knock him out.
Who would you fancy in a Volk rematch?
I would have to go to Topuria again, just because he's KO'd him before, and the confidence in fighting is different. It's like your attributes just times by 10, right? And I think he's just on fire, and I think it's just his time right now. Volk's coming off 2 KO losses now. Listen, Volk's a GOAT, and I respect him highly, but I just believe it's Topuria's time right now.
When you see Topuria, when you see that fight on Saturday, do you think about yourself in those fights? Do you say to yourself, like, that's where I want to be? Obviously, it's your weight class. And in your heart of hearts, how far away do you think you are from being in that discussion?
Of course, I'm looking at the champion. I have to be. What am I doing here? If I'm not, I have to be looking at them guys. And that fight was, for me, was like boom. I had to watch that fight and see the levels and think, yeah, right, that's where I need to aim for. I've got a lot of work to do. I can't be making the mistakes I was making on Saturday night against guys like that, and you go and sleep straight away. So go back to the drawing boards. Got a lot of work to do, and I believe I'm still 2 fights away. I just need to make some small changes, and I'll be back to me, and I'll be back making noise again.
So you did call out, or say at least, that you're interested in Josh Emmett next. Why was he the name that came to mind?
Do you know what? Looking at the rankings, he's coming off a big knockout win over Bryce Mitchell. I would have called out Brian Ortega, but he's coming off a loss, and I don't really believe in that. But I think it's a good fight, him or Josh Emmett. They're both number 5 and 6, maybe. I can't remember the rankings now. But anybody in that top 10, to be honest, I don't really discriminate. But I just believe that Josh Emmett's a scary matchup, power puncher again, like Topuria, and I believe he'll bring the best out of me. That's why I called him out. But I think the Ortega fight's a good fight too.
Do you feel confident that you will get a name like a Josh Emmett or even a Brian Ortega? Ortega probably more popular, famous, but to your point, Emmett coming off a win, I think either one would be fantastic for you. Do you feel confident you get someone like that next?
For sure, bro. I'm 15-0 now. 15-0. I can't be denied now. I've had 8 fights in the UFC. Half of my professional fights in the UFC. Like, I'm solidified now in this division. They have to give me a good shot now. I believe I can perform much better than I did, like I said, and give me another opportunity to do so. Give me Brian Ortega or Josh Emmett in March. Let's go.
That's a couple times now that you've said, like, you feel like you could have done better. Are you unhappy after this fight? Are you unhappy after the performance?
I think you have to be. Listen, I rate Dan Ige's skill set. I rate him highly. I've been watching him for years now, but I believe the fight shouldn't have been that close. If I believe I'm as good as I am, it shouldn't have been that close. I made it hard for myself, and even just the little mistakes I made when I watched it back, I've watched it about 50 times already. They're not mistakes I should make in it. And everybody, all the people that know me, all the people that are around me, my coaches, they know that was 50% of me. So that's what gives me confidence, knowing that I've got more in the tank and I can show it, and I'm going to show it.
Does that piss you off when you see those mistakes? You watch it 50 times, you say, since Saturday. That's like less than 48 hours ago.
Yeah, it does. It hurts me. It hurts me bad because but as a fighter, we only get 15 minutes to get everything perfect. Almost like 15 minutes. So in sparring, you're getting 5 rounds, maybe twice a week. So these mistakes, you get to watch it. You get to go back. You get to correct them. But this is test day, right? This is test day, and you got to get it all right. And it's just like, it's harder, man. You're under a bit of pressure. And actually, Topuria come up to me in the changing rooms. Actually, he said it's just another day of sparring, and that's kind of stuck into me. His mindset going into fights is different, and that's why he's performing. And maybe that's how I need to look at it. It's just another day of sparring.
You shared changing rooms with him?
Well, I was getting ready to go out, and he come in. So yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. And was there anything you were able to observe about his demeanor, or was it too quick?
Bro, he's relaxed. He was already counting his money before even going into the fight. That's how relaxed he was. He had his top off. He's chilling, cracking jokes. For him to come over to me and say that, he's like, you're relaxed, bro. He's relaxed.
Are you
And he's
not that
fighting a
way?
killer. What's that? Sorry.
Are you not that way? Are you a ball of nerves before your fight?
It's not even nerves. I'm just like in some mad kill mode. I'm just like pumped. Like, I don't know. But he just seemed chill. I'm not cracking no jokes in the back. I'm thinking about this, bro. I'm good. Like, maybe I put too much pressure on the winning part of it. Like, bro, like, I put too much pressure on the winning part side of it. That's what it is. And it's like, these guys are just like, boom, I've already won. I'm not bothered.
That to me is fascinating, especially since you win so often. Do you think that you put pressure on yourself because you have the 0 as well, and you don't want to lose that?
I don't even think it's that. I just know when you climb in this ladder, a loss is a long way back, and I'm trying to be champion as soon as possible. And maybe I'm thinking too deep. I'm a deep thinker anyway, but yeah, I'm definitely thinking too deep into everything. I just need to take fight by fight and just go in there and perform and just let it all go and relax. And I think that will bring the best out of me.
This idea that it's just another day of sparring, you've never thought of a fight like that?
I've not, but it's weird because I believe every fight I have a different emotion. And the fight against Barboza, I think I was most relaxed. And I performed probably the best in that fight. And it just goes to show. And I think I was even thinking about things like, oh, the crowd. I've not fought in front of a crowd for years. What's that going to be like? I'm overthinking all the little things. I shouldn't even be thinking about that. And I think all these things are just clouding my mind and affecting my performance. Must have been.
By the way, going from a 5-minute fight now back to 3 5-minute fights, because that fight against Barboza was a main event. Was that an adjustment? Like, it went by a lot quicker?
Yes. So when I watched the fight back, I believe that was Ige's game plan to push the pace early because of that, maybe. Because you see, as he come out, I'm trying to get rhythm. He's coming forward and pushing, but nobody can I use the words they use, gas pedal me, because I've got extremely good cardio. Nobody can do that. And I knew after a round he'd gas out. I knew he'd get tired. I said that to my coach. He's going to wrestle hard first round and he's going to get tired. And he did.
You posted on social media afterwards a message to the haters saying that you're not going anywhere, that you're just getting started. Do you have a lot of haters? Who hates Lerone Murphy? I feel like you're such a likable guy. Who's hating on you?
You just hear them. I shouldn't even be paying attention to them, but you just see them guys on the internet just talk rubbish, and you Nathaniel Woods of this world that would love to be in my position but never will. He's always got something to say. I always see him commenting on things, but it's like, bro, leave it out. You had a tough split decision against a guy that's just retired. What's his name? What's the guy he fought in London? I can't remember his name.
I'm looking it up. I'm drawing a blank.
But, bro, if we're fighting on 2 different levels.
Daniel Pineda, of course, who just retired last week.
Stop judging me, bro. You had a very close fight with him, and come on, bro. We're in 2 different worlds. Allow it.
Is he commenting on your stuff a lot? I know you guys have a long history,
bro. The guy's weird. It's weird, bro. The guy won't leave me alone. Just, bro, get on with your life. Go and train. Go and get some fights under your belt. Get into the top 15. Then start calling me out, bro. It's unrealistic. You're not gonna fight me. I'm 15-0. I'm going into the top 10 now. They're not gonna give you me, bro. Simple. Allow it.
Because there's juice there. Because there's a history there. If they did offer it to you, what would you say?
Now, right now.
Yeah. Next.
Bro, I'd say respectfully, have some manners. Come on.
I'm just saying, because there's a history there and there's a rivalry. I'm not trying to insinuate that you're not worthy of a top 10 guy, but you see how fired up you get. People tend to gravitate towards that.
If they sent me his name, I'd retire. I'd be like, yo, I'm putting all this work in. You giving me this guy. Come on, bro. And I might just spank him just for the sake of it. Easy money.
Oh man, I don't know if he's got anything planned. No, it's probably not going to happen. Listen, I can understand why he's talking about you, right? I can understand.
Obviously, but it just gets a bit weird when you're fascinated with one person. And you know what? Let's move on because this we shouldn't be talking about him. I've just beat Dan Ige, yeah, Dan Ige on UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi, and a tough fight, and there's so much other things to talk about other than that.
I think you're getting so worked up that we don't see you in the frame anymore. They're telling me that you're completely out of frame. Is that better now? Can I see how he looks? Okay, there you are. I think you were getting so worried. I was looking at the monitor and I was like, where did he go? Where did you go? You were getting so mad. I think you were leaving the interview, Lerone. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. For the record, you brought him up, not me. So I just want that. I didn't know. So I guess that one tweet was about Nathaniel more so than anyone.
Yeah, because he tweeted about it. It's just like, bro, leave me alone. Just leave me alone.
Fair enough. I totally understand. I know you're still over there in the United Arab Emirates, right?
Yeah, I'm in Dubai. I'm gonna go and get some food with the boys and just chilling out, enjoying the sun, winding down, recovering. Because usually I fly straight back home. Last time I flew straight back home and it was kind of bad and my body started swelling up and stuff. So I'm just gonna enjoy Dubai, eat some food, relax, and then go home to the family.
I don't mean to dampen the mood, although maybe I did already with the Nathaniel questions. But I don't know if you heard earlier the sad sack Manchester United Football Club has sacked Erik ten Hag. Have you seen this? I don't know,
yeah.
Forrest. I don't know if you saw. We were in 5th place on Friday. Now 7th. I think United is in the relegation zone. It's crazy. But what do you make of this move? Them sacking ten Hag and bringing in Van Nistelrooy.
I think it's a great move, and I believe it should have happened a long time ago. But United are slow to do it. They've done it now. Let's see if things change. I hope that things will, and I believe things will as well. So let's see. A lot of players have complained about him, so he must be a cancer to the club. And we've got some new life. I hope things start going well now.
So you're a fan. Obviously, everyone loves Van Nistelrooy, right? He's a legend. So you're a fan of this move?
Of course, man. He's had history with the club. One of the best goal scorers the club's had. And I believe the players will respect him.
By the way, did you go to that event in July, the Manchester event at the Co-op Live?
Yeah, I was there.
How was it for you in the middle of the night? Were you struggling to stay up?
Yes, I was, but we got through. Yeah, we got through. I had a coffee. I ended up having a double espresso shot at about 1 o'clock, and it got me through.
Okay. I know you wanted to fight on that card, but maybe for the best, right? Who wants to fight at 4 a.m? You know?
Yeah, it's like a bittersweet for me. I was watching in the crowd. I was thinking, yeah, it would have been cool to fight in Manchester, first show in Manchester, but I don't want to fight at this time. So it's just like I'll enjoy the show, and they'll give me a better opportunity. And look, they did.
Yeah, big win on the Abu Dhabi card. Another one for you. Remain undefeated. Well done, Lerone. Looking forward to the next one. And I hope you get one of those big names next. Thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anytime, brother. Thank you.
You're the man. There he is, Lerone Murphy, the pride of Manchester. Yes, a tough day for all the United supporters. I don't think he got my jokes about the sad sack Man United. I mean, I could talk shit now because I think they're actually like 14th or something, and Forrest is
tough.
Yeah, I mean, Forrest on fire. Your defense is terrified and Forrest on fire. Your defense is terrified and Actually, we have a long-time Man United supporter on the team here, I think. Isn't Pete? He might have left.
No, I'm here.
Oh, your thoughts?
Just listen to you so jolly when you know someone's going to come along and take Chris Wood in January.
Yeah.
And then what he's going to do.
You mean Chris Ronaldo? I think 3rd leading scorer in the Prem. I think 2nd this season, but 3rd since Nuno took over last year, around this time last year. What a time. What a time to be a Forest supporter. Forest on magic, on and off the pitch. A huge win over Crystal Palace. By the way, happy birthday to Elaine as well, Pete. A big weekend of birthdays for the entire team. Okay, so great stuff there from Lerone Murphy. Still to come, Darren Till going to join us in a little over an hour, and then Alex Volkanovski. We will talk more about 308 in a bit. But, my friends, let us talk about the latest chapter in the Dana White Francis Ngannou feud. You guys ready for this? Is everyone ready for this? Pull up the popcorn, grab a chair, maybe a blankie.
Who, me?
A nice drink, a coffee, a tea, a peppermint tea, might I suggest. Let's get into this because on Thursday, my friends, I come home and I see a bunch of clips from a press conference. Didn't think that there would be a press conference on Thursday evening. I believe it was Thursday evening. It was more like Thursday afternoon, and I saw it Thursday evening. But there was a Power Slap event, and Dana White met with the media at this Power Slap event, after this Power Slap event in Abu Dhabi to talk about a whole host of things. And this was his first time meeting with the media since Francis beat Renan Ferreira last Saturday in Riyadh. We wondered if he would show up at the post-fight press conference at the Apex event, which happened shortly after the PFL pay-per-view. That was the Fluffy Hernandez-Michel Pereira fight, but there was no post-fight press conference with Dana White. So this was his first time. And so much has been said since, but there were, in particular, 3 clips that I wanted to play for everyone. And I wanted to react to them and try to explain why so much nonsense, so much BS was spewed. And I don't think this is going to be the final chapter. I really don't. But I do think it's important to debunk some of these things because as time goes on, you could spin a narrative any which way you want. It is important because so much is available. There are so many clips and receipts and moments and press conferences and interviews available to us. It's actually quite easy to do so. I know there's a lot of new fans, and so I feel like we are doing you all a great service by providing this. And so you may watch these current press conferences and clips and interviews and say, oh, of course this is the way it is. Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, let us break it all down and you make sense of it. How about that? And so let us begin this journey, this deep dive, if you will. Starting off this Thursday at this press conference, MMA Fighting's Jose Youngs asks Dana White his opinion on what Francis Ngannou did in his PFL debut. Take a look.
Francis is all about the money. Francis left because he knew that if he fought John Jones and didn't win, it would hurt his chances of making the money that he wanted to make. But realistically, his deal was bigger here.
Okay, let's pause it right there. So right off the jump, it's Francis is all about the money. Francis is all about the money, right? That's what he says, which is an unbelievable thing to say about a prize fighter. Every prize fighter should always be about the money. That's what they're programmed to think. It's all about the money. They are literally prize fighters. Yeah, belts are nice, pay-per-views are nice, but it all comes down to how much money you make. And for someone who is a multi-millionaire who came from being a bellboy at the Boston Harbor Hotel to the position he's in now, to put down a person, an individual who came from the sand mines of Cameroon, who was making $1 a day as a youngster digging ditches, who's had to survive so much just to get to this point. And we've gone through what he's had to escape and being in prison and living in a parking garage and going through the ocean and all that stuff. To say that guy is just all about the money, to just paint him with that brush, even if that was truly the case, even if he didn't tell us 30,000 times that it wasn't just about the money, who would rip him for that? Who would disagree with that stance? If he came from $1 a day as a kid digging ditches in sand mines, if he truly was all about the money, just like every other pro athlete on the planet trying to maximize their earnings, their worth, their potential, how is that a knock? How is that a shot on a prize fighter to say that he is all about the money? You then hear him say he's all about the money. Literally 10 seconds later, he says, but the deal we offered him was more. The deal he turned down, he should have said the deals, because there were multiple, probably 5+ towards the end. Who knows how many different iterations. We can end this whole clip right now. In one breath, you say this man is all about the money. In the next breath, you say our deal was better. if it was all about the money and your deal was better, why didn't he take your deal? Again, it's like you listen to this stuff, and initially I had to watch it a couple times because I thought it was satire. I thought it was some sort of, I don't know, some sort of skit. You just listen to that first 30 seconds. He's all about the money. And even if he was, period, yeah, and everyone is. We're all about the money. No one is doing any of this out of the kindness of their heart, including the promoter of this multi-million dollar company who's sitting in front of a sign for a new entity that he's trying to grow, who he touts has these numbers and this social media and does this and that. That's all about the money too. You're trying to sell off a new entity, to create a new entity, to make it into a successful behemoth like the UFC has become out of the kindness of your heart? To give back to the world, to give back to society? Is it charity? No, that too is an endeavor, pardon the pun, that is all about the money. All of this. We live in a capitalistic society. All of this is about the money. And we've heard it from you tens of thousands of times that it's all about the money. It's the prize-fighting business. We continue.
Deal was bigger here if he stayed in the UFC. I think I've told this story a million times. They can deny it all they want. Why the fuck would I lie? What do I care? It doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
By the way, anyone who always like this is a rule of life. Take it to the bank. If someone says, why would I lie? They're lying. That's number one. Go through history. Anyone who says, why would I lie? I don't care. A, they care. B, they're lying. And he says that like with such smugness, like, you know, let me tell you something. Our deal was better. Yeah. Francis told us that when he walked away, the deal was for about $7 million combined, all the fights combined. Do we really think right now that Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and his PFL debut, those 3 fights alone, do we think that they are worth $7 million? Do you really think he fought Tyson Fury and Joshua alone for $7 million? Come on, guys. Like, come on. We're going to sit here like, come on. How was the deal better? Explain to us how the deal was better. Of course, that doesn't happen. Francis has gone through it like 1,000 times, and we will get to some of that in a moment. But do you really believe that? Now, maybe you could say the upside. You could break it down and say, oh, if you beat John Jones and you do a rematch this way, pay-per-view, carry the 4, carry the 3. Okay, maybe you could do that type of mental gymnastics. But do you really believe a fight with Turkey behind it against Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, that alone, forget about the PFL debut, which he then later says is a horrendous deal, and they're hoping that he loses so they could get out of the deal. You think that was less than $7 million? Come on, continue.
I was going to cut Francis when he lost 2 in a row. I was going to cut him.
That was after the Derek Lewis.
Yeah. Somebody around here begged me not to do it.
Pause it right there. So now he's going back to 2018. He's going back to July 7, 2018. In case you didn't know, Francis Ngannou fought Stipe Miocic in January of 2018. He lost that fight. He won the first round and then essentially gassed out and was dominated for the next 4 and lost that title fight. He came back in July of 2018, and it was one of the worst fights of all time. Him versus Derek Lewis, both of them hardly threw anything. Francis lost fair and square, but both guys didn't show up, and both guys have said it's a horrendous fight, and there were such high expectations. They always wanted to run it back, but it never worked out. Dana says that he wanted to cut him after that performance in 2018. Now, what do they do with Francis next? So you think, okay, you want to cut this guy because you didn't like the way he fought in that fight, and as he says later, you didn't like his attitude, and some stuff happened. He keeps alluding to these cryptic things that happened, but never tells us what they are. So you would think they'd put him in the doghouse, right? You'd think that they'd put him in the doghouse and they'd bury the guy, put him on the prelims, and not push him, right? Because the boss wants to cut him. Yeah, he refers to 2 people that told him to keep Francis around, but you'd think ultimately they'd bury him, right? His next fight was in November of 2018, 11 months later. It was a headliner in Beijing, China. A bit of a small market, right? I would say tiny. It's kind of like equivalent to Jacksonville or something like that. Beijing, China, headliner against Curtis Blades, a rematch against Curtis Blades. That was his next fight. The fight after that, headliner, Phoenix, Arizona, first event, main card on ESPN. First main card on ESPN. I remember Chill and I were in Bristol. We did Sports Center right after. Cain Velasquez, Francis Ngannou, and Ngannou wins in 26 seconds. Oh, by the way, he beat Curtis Blades in Beijing 3 months prior in 45 seconds. So you would think, yeah, you want to cut him. You're speaking so confidently. I wanted to get rid of him. Next fight, main event in Beijing. Next fight, main event of the first ESPN main card in Phoenix, Arizona. Next fight, just a few months later, January of 2019. Main event, Minnesota, fight night on ESPN, knocks out Junior Dos Santos in a minute and 11 seconds. Again, we've seen them bury people. We remember what they did to Andre Arlovski back in the day when he wanted to test free agency. They had him fight Jake O'Brien on the non-televised prelims of UFC 70. Like, we've seen this before. Or was it 68? It was 68, in Columbus, Ohio. They ain't burying this guy. You wanted to cut him. You wanted to get rid of him. You thought he was garbage. Main event Beijing, main event ESPN Phoenix, main event Minnesota. The next time Francis fought was on the first show back in the pandemic, May of 2020. That big show, empty arena, Jacksonville. The whole world was watching that. There was literally nothing else going on. Against Jairzinho Rozenstruik, starches him in 20 seconds. You'd think if you want to bury the guy, if you don't want to be in business with him, if you don't believe in him, if you don't think he's worth it, you're not putting him on that card. Certainly not. You're putting him, you're sticking him at the apex maybe a few weeks later when the rest of the world is coming back. You could have literally picked from any fighter on the roster for that card. They all wanted to fight on it. If they could get into the country, you pick Francis. Main card, by the way, pay-per-view, starches Jairzinho. His next fight, title fight against Stipe, and then Ciryl Gane. So this idea that they wanted to cut him is hogwash. And this idea that they were going to bury him or didn't want to be in business with him or wanted to hold him back, hogwash. And even if that was true, we know how the story plays out. We know how this story goes. Would have been one of the worst decisions in the history of fight sports if you would have cut this guy who then beat Curtis Blades in 45 seconds, beat Cain in 26 seconds, beat Junior Dos Santos in 71 seconds, beat Jairzinho Rozenstruik in 20 seconds, beat Stipe Miocic second round, 52 seconds, and then did what he did against Ciryl Gane. That's the rest of his UFC run. How is that something to be proud of? He later addresses that. We'll get to that. We continue.
So it wouldn't have mattered to me one way or the other, you know? There's a much deeper story to this whole thing. And he would have made more money if he stayed in the UFC.
Now he goes back to that misnomer. Pause right there. He goes to the much deeper story thing all the time. He has been doing this for the past couple of years, but he never tells us what the deeper story is, other than the fact that they wanted to sign him and he didn't want to stick around. And now we get to another lie.
That's a fact, my friend. We're moving on.
Okay, so that's not the entire clip. I think we played the wrong one there. You guys know what I'm saying? There's a portion there at the end which I would love to play because I do want to give Dana White credit. It's very important. But he says John Jones, Francis Ngannou, Francis didn't want to fight John Jones. That's a fact. Based on what? Based on your opinion or based on history? Because if it's based on history, the facts would suggest it's the complete opposite. That's what the facts would suggest. But he just says these things, and he thinks that the media that he continues to say are a joke, don't exist, are hacks, etc., are just going to eat it up. Not here. You can't do that. Now, I do want to give him credit for what he said right after that. Do we have that portion? There were two clips. There was one short one, one long one. I do want to give him credit for what he said right afterwards because it's very important. It doesn't pertain necessarily to Francis, but I want to give him massive credit for this, just to be as fair and balanced as possible. Here's what he says in continuation, that same clip.
We're moving on. Obviously, everybody loves Tom Aspinall and wants to see Jones and Aspinall or Stipe and Aspinall. And I feel like when Stipe and John were young, John was 23, youngest champion ever in UFC history, and somebody gave him an opportunity. And I think that Stipe and John, whoever wins, should give Aspinall the same opportunity they had.
So all these rumors of, John and Stipe both retiring, have you talked to them about that at all? Or you just hope
I think that both John and Stipe will say they're going to retire because they're going to start negotiating, and whatever the negotiation is, we will get the deal done.
So I want to give him credit for that because, yes, he's right. Someone did give John an opportunity. Someone did give Stipe an opportunity. And the winner of that fight needs to give Tom an opportunity. And if they don't, they should be stripped. I mean, that's it. And he's right. Everyone does want to see Tom at this point. And the best thing to happen to the UFC in this Francis Ngannou feud is the emergence of Tom Aspinall because he takes a little bit of the pressure away because Tom is supremely popular. He is right. And there is a great demand to see him fight. So everything that he said on the back end, and this is why I wanted to play it, was 1,000% right, in my opinion. Now, it really has nothing to do with Francis, but it was a nice way to end that statement, that answer, with a positive spin and with a bow on top. Dana White continues to say that he doesn't care, that he doesn't think about Francis. I will prove to you that that is not true in a moment. I will prove to you that this is not true. And I will prove to you that everything that he said in that clip prior to the Aspinall part is not exactly comme ci, comme ça, la vérité, as they say in France, the truth. But we continue. The very next day, Francis Ngannou is on SiriusXM Radio, Fight Nation, and he's speaking to the hosts over there. I believe one of them was Ryan McKinnell. It's possible the other was Dean Thomas. I apologize if I'm not getting the host right. The show's called MMA Today, and he was fired up. Here's what Francis Ngannou had to say.
I think Dana is trying to make things up to buy a good face in the position that he have lost. Dana have lost this in this situation, and the only thing is that he can't understand it. Bro, I won everything. I left. We get apart. It's been almost 2 years, and the guy is still out there. He can't live without it. He can handle me. Regardless of everything that happened, I'm not about him. I went out there, did a fight, have a great fight for my son memory, but the guy can't stand. I don't know what is his problem, man. But
pause it right there. That is a very important thing. The story going into this fight for Francis Ngannou was how is he dealing with everything that happened to his family and, of course, to his son. To have this stance, just take the Thursday stance, to have that stance after what happened to Francis Ngannou and what he's been dealing with, and then to have the stance that he had on Saturday, and we'll get to that in a moment as well, that's the part that kind of blows me away. And God bless Francis Ngannou for seemingly taking the high road. This guy just lost his son. And as he's about to say, what is wrong with just saying, God bless, he doesn't work here anymore, I don't care. Why the need to make up these lies? Why the need to spin this narrative? Why the need to call him a bad guy? Because he didn't sign with you guys? Now, the UFC has had the luck of every time they make a decision, it seems to go their way. I remember when Dan Henderson wanted UFC 100 and said thanks but no thanks, and then went to fight for Strikeforce and he lost to Jake Shields. And yes, you will be surprised to know, if you're new to this game, that at one time Jake Shields was a great MMA fighter. He wasn't just an out-of-his-mind anti-Semite who rages about conspiracy theories online. He was actually a tremendous MMA fighter, and he beat Dan Henderson, and he completely rained on that parade of Dan Henderson leaving the UFC and going to sign with Strikeforce. It worked out. Dana White was happy about it. They tried to sign Fedor. He loses. He's happy about it. It just seemed like every time they made a move, the ensuing move worked in their favor. This is one of the few times in history where it did not work in their favor, where the guy bet on himself, said thanks but no thanks, and is thriving. The Fury fight, getting the Joshua fight from a monetary standpoint, and then, of course, what happened 2 Saturdays ago against PFL. So he's right. It does seem to bother him because this is one of those cases where it didn't come up UFC. But then when he mentions his son, you think to yourself, man, how could, just say, God bless. I've mentioned Mark Cuban in the past. When Jalen Brunson decided not to sign with the Mavericks, you didn't see Mark Cuban, and this has happened 1,000 times in sports, you don't see the owner say that guy's X, Y, and Z. You say, all right, it didn't work out, God bless. Mark Cuban is an example I've talked about over the summer. Mark Cuban was on Jalen Brunson's podcast, just chopping it up. What's wrong with just saying, God bless, it didn't work out? Why the need to bury this guy, slander his name, smear his name, just because he didn't sign with you guys, just because he chose to walk away? We continue.
And he can make everything up as he want. That's his problem. I think he needs to make a peace with himself. You could have just said we didn't find a agreement or something. We couldn't find we couldn't come to a deal. But good luck to him. That's it. Good for him. And and we continue our life. What's the problem here? But I think the problem is that he can handle this loss. Basically, like he been praying for I'm sure he been praying for my downfall, and then I'm just keep doing my thing, rising. Since I left the UFC, in any senses, I'm more than what I was. And which money he's talking about?
Pause it right there. He's 100% right, by the way. If you think for a second that he is not praying for his downfall, you're kidding yourself. I mean, take it from me. Take it from me where he was able to throw roadblock after roadblock after roadblock in my way and try to change the course of my life. That's the kind of person that he is. So take it from me, he's 1,000%. Now, he can't do that over there. When I was at ESPN, he could, because I was in the same playpen as their world. So that's exactly the kind of person that he is. And he has told us in the past that that's the kind of person that he is. So yes, he is praying for his downfall. And yes, it's not working out. And here you are. You get these types of responses. We continue.
Money that he owes me, because let me tell you, remember, all this ended with like, they say, oh, we're going to back pay you from the money that we owe you from the Stipe and Senegal fight. All that, they never back pay me.
Pause it right there. This is where it gets complicated in the next clip, and you'll see he's explained this to us. He said in the negotiations, we are going to back pay you because you fought Ciryl Gane for $600,000. You fought Stipe for less than that. And so we're going to make it right. That's what he's referring to here. He's referring to, in the negotiations, they admitted that he didn't get what he was deserving of. And they tried to sign him to a new deal before the Stipe fight. They tried to sign him to a new deal before the Gane fight. He said no to both because he wanted to bet on himself and test free agency. So what he's saying here is, they admitted to me that I wasn't getting what I was deserving, what I was owed. And so he's talking about, now the money and whatnot. He's saying, okay, you guys admitted it to me. You want to talk about money? Like, you admitted that you owe me back pay. Of course, that's never going to happen. He's not saying that they owe him money from the deals. He's referring to the negotiations, and Dana knows exactly what he's referring to. He's referring to the negotiations where they said, we're going to make it right. Yes, you were underpaid against Stipe. Yes, you were underpaid against Ciryl Gane. We're going to make it right in this new deal. The new deal never came. No chance to make it right. Remember that. It comes up in a bit. We continue.
More money than I would have ever made in the UFC. I would say maybe twice the money that I could have ever made in my entire UFC career if I had continued in the UFC.
Pause right there. And again, important to note, he is saying more money in the last couple fights outside of the UFC than his entire UFC career times 2. He's not saying in the fights post-Gane. He's saying entire UFC times 2 the last 3 fights. Think about that. We continue.
From the moment that I stopped.
Right.
I don't know. But either way, if I have made less money, if I'm not making less money, enough money that I could have made in the UFC, that would be my problem. Why is it so pissed about me not making that much money? Like, come on, man. Live your life.
Live your life. All he had to say on that Thursday was, didn't watch it, waste of time, B-Leagues, God bless. Or even, God bless. Or even, God forbid, hey, the guy's been through a lot. We did business. God bless. Because I don't remember a lot of slinging dirt. That press conference in 2023, in January of 2023, when Dana said goodbye. Remember, Francis came on our show. There wasn't a lot of slinging dirt. Like, there hasn't been a lot of insults, right? So he could have just said, God bless, all the best. That didn't happen. And so Francis Ngannou says that on Friday. Saturday night, after the Abu Dhabi show, after 308, Dana White is asked about what Francis said on Friday. Now, he is asked by Mike Bond of MMA Junkie, and part of that first answer is Mike reciting the quote from Francis. But as you will recall, I just explained to you what the back pay is all about. Look at where Dana takes that back pay comment.
And another thing you mentioned at Power Slap the other night was stuff about Francis Ngannou, and that stirred up a lot of reaction from the MMA community and from Francis himself. And he had a very interesting quote. Can I read you a little bit? He said, he can't handle this loss, referring to you. I'm sure he's been praying for my downfall. Which money is he talking about? The money that he owes me. They say we're going to give you back pay from the money we owe you from the Stipe and Ciryl Gane fights. All that, they never paid me back. Now I've made more money than I would have ever made in the UFC. I would say twice the money in my entire UFC career.
Yeah. When have you ever heard a story in all the years we've been in business, even when it was upside down, where we owed somebody money? Never happened. So he's full of shit there.
Pause right there. So you see what I mean? He is interpreting that as you didn't pay my salary, you didn't pay my purse, you didn't pay what you said you were going to pay me. That's not what Francis was saying, and he would know because he was part of the negotiation. I know Hunter Campbell is the main one doing the negotiation, but when it's something as top level as re-signing Francis Ngannou, he's a part of it. And and again, what Francis was referring to was the revelation, admitting to the fact that, hey, we know you didn't get paid what you were owed against Stipe and Gane. This deal is going to serve as somewhat of a back pay, right? He's not saying you didn't pay me for those fights. It's a back pay. Dana takes it in a completely different direction to make him seem like an asshole, quite simply. We continue.
Then I lost. I didn't lose anything. I was done with Francis after the... He actually he owes me money because we had to watch that fight with him and the Black Beast. He should actually pay me back for that fight.
Pause right there. I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit. Good zinger. Good zinger. It was a bad fight. He's 100% right. And I will also say he is correct in this regard. The UFC is doing just fine. Make no mistake about it. That's what makes it so crazy. The UFC is on fire. The UFC is about to score a massive, massive TV deal next year. They are doing just fine. No one is bigger than the UFC, and that includes Conor McGregor. No one is bigger than the UFC. They are doing just fine. That's what is so crazy about all this. He can't help himself. And yes, of course, I know he's not going out there and willingly, talking about these things. He's being asked about them. I will say, though, there are instances, especially in the last couple of days, where it's very clearly he's telling the media to tee him up on questions. Like the PFL power slap thing was 1,000% a tee up. Trust me, from someone who's been there before, I know exactly. When he's got the paper there with the stats, that was teed up. He's not just walking around with stats. Francis, I don't believe that's the case. He'd probably rather not talk about him. And he's probably right. He's not sitting at home saying like, oh my God, Francis, I've lost. He's 1,000% right. But all the other shit is a complete fabrication. We continue.
You. And me praying for it, trust me, I don't think about Francis that much. You guys asked me the question about the PFL, and I responded. Other than that, the only one who's praying for his demise is probably the PFL, because they signed a shitty contract with a guy that doesn't deliver any numbers in ticket sales or pay-per-views. And they got to keep paying this guy for however long, and good for him, and not good for them.
Yeah, and I know
what was the other question?
It was. I know you said like he's all about the money, but then you also said like he would have made more money to stay here.
And that's a fact. He can play those games all he wants. He would have made more money here.
How is that a fact?
Let me tell you what. There were two guys here. I wanted to cut them. Someday I'll tell you the story.
Again with this.
Francis was like, I was all about Francis in the beginning, and then I found out who Francis was, and I told the two guys who asked me not to cut Francis, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
So pause it right there.
And
pause it right there. When the story is, and Francis has talked about it because I've asked him about it in the past. Apparently, the story was when he was about to fight Stipe, Francis said something like, get the jet ready for me. That's as far as we've gone, as far as something that kind of didn't sit well with Dana, right? That's as far, and this has been discussed. This is a story. Yes, there are interviews where Dana says, like, after the Stipe fight, I was mad at him. After the Derek fight, I was mad at him. Never says cut. Now we get to this revelation. But Dana says he showed us his true colors. Okay, so what? Was it that? Was that the true colors? In a business where you've got the cockiest guys, sometimes criminals, people who, beat their wife, people who do really bad things. Like, this is the guy who showed you his true colors. He was saying, get the jet ready for me. And then of course, and I'm not going to go too far deep into this, but like to have someone like him sit up there and say, like, when someone shows you their true colors, believe them. I mean, the irony is just, it's dripping. It's somewhat mind-blowing to sit up there and speak like this about a different human being. That irony continues in a second.
Yeah. Believe me, I have no sleepless nights over Francis leaving.
I believe that.
So just two more things on this.
Yep.
You wanted to cut him, but he went on to become the UFC heavyweight champion. So I guess what does that say about that thought process? Does it show he should have stayed?
Well, no. I didn't like Francis as a person. Wasn't a guy I wanted to do business with. My boys were telling me he's misunderstood. And I told them, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. Yeah, it wasn't about him becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. Francis isn't a good guy. He plays the good guy. I don't understand the language, and so he seems like he's a nice guy.
Pause right there.
He's not.
Francis plays a good guy. He's not a good guy. And then the I don't understand the language. Like that one, I think went over everyone's head. I mean, how that is not just deemed offensive is beyond me. But fair, has Francis ever on this show played the I don't understand what you're saying card? Maybe behind closed doors he's done that. But I mean, the fact that this isn't even his first language and he speaks about business as eloquently as he does is somewhat mind-blowing. He's not a good guy. When you consider the people that the UFC has done business with, continues to do business with, will do business with, and the non-issues that they have with those human beings, and Francis isn't the good guy because he didn't sign their deal, because he said, get the jet ready for me. Unless there's some other issue out there, and please let us know. Educate us. Tell us right now. And I'll say, okay, I didn't know that happened. But I mean, we've been talking about this particular story since 2018, this particular incident. Francis isn't the good guy. And he wanted to cut him because he wasn't a good guy. But look at the roster. Today, yesterday, 5 years ago. We could point out a lot of people with checkered histories and pasts and resumes who I would say are a little bit worse guys than Francis. And they have no problem giving those people fights. But Francis isn't a good guy. This is where we've arrived. Now he's a bad guy. Now he's a bad human being because he didn't take their deal. Incredible. We continue.
And he's just not a guy that I wanted to be in business with. Period. End of story. Whether he became the champion or not.
And I assume you don't want to be in business with him ever again, but...
We won't be. We'll never be in business together. You can tell.
Yeah.
We don't like each other. And this goes way back. This goes back to before the first Stipe fight. He pulled some shit before the first Stipe fight, and I said, I'm done with this guy, and then Stipe beat the shit out of him. Great night. And then, we never had a relationship after that.
Well, I know you said John Jones would walk out of any room, so wouldn't it be gratifying to put him in a room with Francis?
He didn't want that fight. He could have stayed and took that fight. He didn't want that fight. Tom Aspinall deserves that fight.
So he says that Francis Ngannou didn't want that fight. We have debunked this. We will debunk it again. He said that he pulled some shit and he wanted nothing to do with him. Here's what I can say is true about that. There are multiple interviews afterwards where I asked Francis, have you and Dana spoken? Have you guys cleared the air? And he continued to say no. But the idea that the UFC and as a company wanted nothing to do with him, and even that Dana was done with him is not true. Maybe privately they never got on the phone, but as you'll see in a moment, not the case. And so let us go into the time machine and let us go back to December of 2018, right before that fight against Stipe, that fight where all this really starts. Francis is coming off a knockout of Alistair Overeem. His head almost flies off in Detroit, Michigan. He comes back a month and a half later to fight Stipe for the belt in Boston. Remember, he takes that fight on supremely short notice, his first title defense. The Overeem fight was in early December. The title fight was in mid-January. Supremely fast. He takes the fight. At the pre-fight press conference, this is how Dana White is speaking of Francis Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou has the world record for the most powerful punch. His punch is the equivalent to 96 horsepower, which is equal to getting hit by a Ford Escort going as fast as it can. And it's more powerful than a 12-pound sledgehammer swung full force from overhead. Holy shit.
It's amazing going back to those clips because if you recall, or maybe you don't know because you're a newer fan, the whole narrative going into that fight was how they were disrespecting Stipe. Stipe ended up winning the fight. Stipe took the belt from Dana and gave it to his coach to put around his waist because he was so mad about the way he was being disrespected, about his pay, about the way they were hyping up Francis. There are tons of interviews. Just go in there and look up UFC 220 Stipe with myself and others where Stipe is clearly seething before the fight and after the fight. Francis loses the fight. And then he comes back and he loses to Derek Lewis. Somewhere along the lines, things got so bad that we find out 6 years later that Dana White wanted to cut him. It was that bad. He wanted to cut him. Of course, as I've just told you, he then headlined Beijing and ESPN and Minnesota and the Jacksonville COVID card and fought for the belt. So, they wanted to cut him. Like, why are they giving him all these opportunities? All right, let's go to May of 2020 now. Now this is right around the time that all this is popping off. He has just beaten Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and all of a sudden, May of 2020, April of 2020 was all about Gaethje and Khabib. May of 2020 was all about Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou. And everyone believed Francis was the guy, and everyone believed it would be a huge fight, and everyone believed that Jon Jones wanted nothing to do with the fight. I didn't believe that. It just, he had just fought Dominic Reyes, and they didn't want to pay him what he was owed. How do I know that? Well, you're about to find out. Here's me talking to Francis Ngannou in May of 2020, and here's Francis backing Jon Jones in his stance to be paid what he is asking for and what the UFC doesn't want to pay him for this mega fight.
I think he asked for something which is reasonable. And then, I don't know how much that was, but I think he asked for something reasonable.
Reasonable.
People said Jones, he doesn't want to fight me. I think he wants.
Backing him.
Because he makes himself clear. And he wants money. He tells the UFC he wants money. He tells everyone that he wants money. And we know all what guy can do with money, for money. So, and once again, it's not like a middleweight or welterweight. Jon Jones is a light heavyweight. He walk around as a heavyweight. He has to cut weight to go to heavyweight, to light heavyweight. So, and he's been around. He's a world-class champion. He's been in the top for a long time. He has this experience. So I think he won the fight. I mean, I believe that.
See how he's backing Jon? See how he's backing his desire to fight him? See how he's backing his desire to get paid more? Bad guy Francis. And you'll see from that minute clip, the whole narrative in May of 2020 was Jon doesn't want to fight Francis. Not the opposite. Not the Francis was scared. Francis looked for the easy fight. That whole narrative that you hear now wasn't a thing when it was actually happening. What do you believe more? What people were saying in the moment or what they're trying to say 4 years later after a divorce? Come on now. We'll move along and we go to May of 2020. Same month.
Jones and I have always had
Here's
this,
Dana White. Pause it for a second. If you could just replay it. Here's Dana White talking about Jon Jones, and it's important to listen to this. When you hear the way he talks about Jon Jones now, listen to how he was talking about Jon Jones back in May of 2020. Go ahead.
Jon Jones and I have always had this, I'm always looking at what Jon Jones could have been, He could have been the LeBron of the sport. He could have been literally that big. The stuff that he's been through to show up and think he, basically demand $15 million or $20 million or $30 million. It's crazy.
So 2 things to note here. Again, the whole thing was about Jon not wanting to fight Francis, not the opposite. It was never brought up that Francis was the problem here. A. B. You know how many times Jon Jones has won? Forget won. You know how many times Jon Jones has fought since that comment? Once. The Ciryl Gane fight. That's it. But yet you hear the way he talks about him now, greatest ever. All that is to stick it to Francis. Greatest ever, greatest ever. That's just to stick it to him. He's fought once against Ciryl Gane, a fight that lasted 2 minutes. Supremely impressive, incredible fight. But your stance changed so much on the guy. Could have been LeBron. Now he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. They've never promoted him in a more positive light. But again, more importantly, everyone was talking about Jon being the issue, not Francis. I'm not saying Jon was the issue. I think he deserved 20, 30 million. Make no mistake about it. But it's just important to note, it was never brought up that Francis was a part of the problem. It is now, not back then. We fast forward, March of 2021, Francis Ngannou just beats Stipe Miocic to become the heavyweight champion. He's doing an interview with Joe Rogan. He is asked of Jon Jones. Here's what he says.
I want you to enjoy this, and I want you to celebrate this victory, but I also want to talk to you about the future. Jon Jones sent a tweet out. It said, "Let's play, baby." What do you think about a potential... Oh, another one was Show Me the Money. What do you think about a potential fight with one of the greatest, if not the greatest, mixed martial arts fighters in the history of the sport, Jon Jones, now moving up to heavyweight? That will be your first title defense.
Absolutely. I mean, for my opinion, Jon Jones is the greatest of all the time for mixed martial art.
No, that ends too soon. There's more to that clip if we can get it. He talks about, and it's very important if we could get that full clip. He talks about his desire to fight Jon Jones, and he talks about his idea that, like, hey, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go in July. I'm ready to go in August. I'm ready to go, the next pay-per-view. Like, never does he says, show me the money for Jon. Never does he say, like, I don't know about that. Like, look at his response. He just beat Stipe Miocic, and he's ready to go. You never hear that. Now, of course, people say things in interviews, and maybe behind the scenes it's different. I get that. I acknowledge that. But you never see any kind of hesitation. You never see any kind of public negotiation. You never see him or hear him say, nah. They've got to show me the money too. Do we have that full clip or no? We don't have that. I think it's important to play that. Do I have to play it off my phone? What happened to it? One second. I'm going to play this off my phone because I want everything to be seen and heard from.
Greatest of all the time for mixed martial art. And him moving up is going to be a good thing. It's a challenge that I will take and put it on my record. Would be a very good challenge for me, very good thing on my resume. But for this time, he's going to be the challenger. I am the champ. He's coming up and looking for me. So I'm ready anytime soon. Even summer, I'll be here, ready to fight in July or August, whenever. They are ready. I'm ready. He said something like, show the money, and we go, baby. I'm here.
Francis, that will be one of the...
Show the money. He's talking about him. That's my interpretation. July, August, I'm ready to go. Never, hey, we got to negotiate. We got to get a new deal. I don't want him, this or that. You tell me your interpretation. That same night, post-fight press conference, this is Dana White, who tells us now 3 years later he wanted to cut him, who he wasn't all about Francis. He wasn't a fan of his. Didn't want to be in business with him. This is his immediate reaction to what Francis did to Stipe.
Dana, new heavyweight champion of the world. Pretty impressive stuff from Francis Ngannou. I mean, I think everybody's still soaking it in, but give us your initial reaction to that.
Yeah, no, he looked damn good. He looked incredible, man. And obviously you saw a lot of things from him tonight that we hadn't seen from him in the past. Head kicks, leg kicks, really good grappling. Takedown defense, scary.
Yeah,
look at that grin. A promoter's dream. He should feel that way because you've just got a guy who's, chiseled out of stone, who's a freaking comic book character as your heavyweight champion. You should feel that way. And if you're wondering, did anyone ask him about the Jon Jones fight? Can we confirm whether or not it was Francis the issue or Jon Jones being the issue? Here's what he said when asked about Jon Jones fighting Francis moments after that win.
The idea of a Jon Jones fight seems awfully exciting right now. And Jon came out, tweeted, said, show me the money. What appeals to you most? Because it seems like that would be an amazing super fight.
If I'm Jon Jones and I'm home watching this fight, I start moving to 85.
You think that's a fight that you'd like to put together next? I mean, I know we don't matchmake, but that sure does seem exciting.
Listen, I could sit here all day and tell you, what show me the money mean? I tell you guys this all the time. If you can say you want to fight somebody, but do you really want to?
Insinuating that the greatest of all time, now the greatest fighter of all time, as he continuously says, is scared of fighting Francis Ngannou or doesn't want to fight Francis Ngannou. We'll leave it at that. That's all you need right there. That's the only clip in this whole thing. In the immediate aftermath, He says, John's talking nonsense about this show me the money. He doesn't want the fight. And if I were him, I'd move to 185. That's all you need. And I'd love for someone to ask him that question. That's it. That night, John Jones is tweeting through it. Look how mad he was. Look how many tweets. Shout out to Andrew Feldman. Go to 185. He's responding to that. The answer is yes, I want to get paid. If you're wondering if I want this fight. People are saying I'm afraid. Everything. Afraid. The whole thing. What an insult. Why does a fighter have to be afraid the second he asks for money? Conor McGregor wants big money. It's expected. John Jones? No, he's afraid. Look how many tweets. Look how he's rolling through it. This is all on the same night. Look at the timestamps. We're now at 2:56 a.m. Derek Lewis being used as a negotiation. Look how many tweets. Look how upset he was. We're now at 3:09 a.m. 11 a.m. This is how mad he was. There was nothing being suggested that Francis Ngannou was the problem. It was all about John.
Because you would be afraid to fight Francis doesn't mean I would be afraid to fight Francis. You're probably not like me. Remember that.
After Francis's win, I had him on the show, and I asked him, hey, all the talk is about John wanting to get paid, John wanting more money. What about you? Don't you want more money? Here's what he said.
And I'm just curious because a lot has been said about him wanting to get paid more and all this stuff. But what about you, Francis? You're the champ now. Like, is it just a matter of, all right, Francis, here's your next fight, or are there talks that need to happen for you because you're the champ now?
Well, I want to get paid more. Obviously, if that's the question, I think everybody pay more. I want a good term for that fight. I want it to be in a good term, in my favor, or at least with more benefit. But listen, I'm in the contract. I have to fight,
Pause it right there.
I don't want to...
Listen, I'm in a contract. I have to fight. Of course I want to get paid more. We all want to get paid more. Andy wants to get paid more. GC wants to get paid more. Eric wants to get paid more. I want to get paid more.
Who,
Jordan,
me?
Frank is thrilled with his pay, I'm told. Everyone wants to get paid more. But what does he say right there? Listen, I'm in a contract. And he continues.
I think the best is to come. My future is just there. I have a big space to take everything that I want.
A big staple of those pandemic interviews was his fire alarm. It kept beeping. It was incredible. Does that sound like a guy who's holding out, who's playing games, who's afraid, who's trying to negotiate, who's looking for a way out? Of course I want to get paid more. Everyone's talking about him getting paid. Of course I want to get paid, but I have a contract, and if they offer me this fight, does it sound like a guy who's going to put a roadblock up? Of course, he doesn't fight John Jones next. He fights Ciryl Gane, bum knee. They try to sign him multiple times before the Stipe fight, before that interview, and then leading up to the last fight on his deal against Ciryl Gane. January of 2022, all the marbles, Anaheim, pawned. You win the fight, you're the champ as a free agent. You lose the fight, you lose all your leverage, all your momentum. They flick you off to the side. They kick you to the curb. Torn ACL, they tell him, don't do it. He does it, down 2 rounds to none, turns it around. He becomes Cael Sanderson, and he wins 3-2. Dana White doesn't put the belt around his waist, says afterwards, I had to go deal with something in the back. Maybe someone else was getting banned. Mick Maynard puts it around his waist, and then he rides off into the sunset. This is what Francis Ngannou said to me after the fight when I asked him, what do you want? Do you want more money? Are you being a nuisance? Do you want to what do you want ultimately? What would make you happy? This is what he said.
So does that mean when you say freedom, does that mean you want to be free, that you don't want to fight for the UFC anymore?
You can be free and fight for the UFC.
How?
I just want to be free.
How can you be free and fight for the UFC, in your opinion?
I mean, we are supposedly an independent contractor. Mm-hmm. Independent contractor technically is a free person.
Sure. But you know how it is, right? The contracts are very restrictive, right? You can't go box. You can't do this.
And that's the reason why they need some adjustment in that contract. That's what I've been fighting for.
So when you say it's not just about the money, you said that, right? It's not just about...
Could you say to the world, what do you want? What is it about then? Freedom is, but like, what are you looking for? Is there anything specific that you can share? I know you don't have to go through your whole entire life goal here, but what is it that's really bugging you about what they're offering and what maybe they're not offering?
The term of the contract, everything that they put into, they hold you like in captivity. Like you can't do anything. You have no right. The contract is one-sided. Although you still don't have nothing, you don't even have a health insurance while you're doing this, putting your body on the line to put on the show, risking everything. There's a lot of things, man. We have no insurance, nothing, like no guarantee.
Does that sound like someone who's all about the money? Does that sound like someone who's afraid? Does that sound like someone who's a bad guy? Does that sound like someone who, was looking for a way out? No, that sounds like someone, by the way, does that sound like someone who's dumb? Does that sound like someone who doesn't understand the language? Duh. Or does it sound like someone who reads contracts, understands labor laws, understands independent contractor status versus employee status, understands freedoms and lack thereof, understands insurance or lack thereof, understands the ability to bet on yourself and live one life? Well, what does it sound like to you? You tell me. I'm offering this to you. What does it sound like to you? Does it sound like the guy who's all about the money? When you hear that, does that sound like that guy to you? Doesn't sound like that to me. We continue. March of 2022, 2 months later, Dana White speaking to Michael Eaves of ESPN. This is 2 months later, talking about the guy that he didn't want to be in business with, that he didn't want to have around, that he wanted to cut in 2018, 4 years later now. This is 2 months after Francis's last fight. Here's what Dana White says about his interest in re-signing Francis Ngannou.
Any progress made in that regard?
He's been in Cameroon visiting his family, so he's supposed to get back here in the next couple of weeks, and we're supposed to get together. And
from your standpoint, do you need to? Would you like to get it soon rather than later, or does it matter?
Listen, in the history of this company, the only guy that we've ever not signed was Fedor.
Okay,
I mean, it's the only guy we could never sign. So, I'm hopeful and confident that we can get a deal done with Francis.
And you're not worried about it, whether it's next week or 8 months from now?
Yeah, no, as long as we get it done.
All right, fair enough.
As long as we get it done. Hopeful and confident. Does that sound like someone that they wanted to just disregard? Does that sound like someone they didn't want to be in business with? That's 2 months later. That's now 2 months into his exclusive negotiation period. Does that sound like someone who was happy he was out of the Francis Ngannou business? If you wanted to cut him, you'd think they would let him go. You'd think they'd let him go. You'd think they wouldn't keep him around for that whole year. His last fight against Gane was in January of 2022. His next fight was in January of 2023 because there was a whole year negotiation period because he was champion. A whole freaking year. And then they tried to sign him multiple times leading up to that, and then he comes out with the press conference saying, we've released him. You didn't release him. The clock expired. Does that sound like someone that they did not want to be in business with? And they say he's all about the money, but he left, and they say that there's a better deal on the table. And Dana White also said, I don't care about Francis. I don't lose sleep. Doesn't bother me one bit. I could care less. It should be couldn't care less. You tell me if they are bothered by his success. This is August of 2024, Israel Adesanya is about to fight Dricus du Plessis. He talks about Dricus a few months prior at the on-sale press conference. They then put it together for a countdown. Look, shout out to Andrew Feldman who caught this. Look at how they scrub Francis Ngannou's name from his answer. Look at this.
There'll be a bit of tension between yourself and Dricus. Can
This
you
is
just
the
run
countdown.
through why that is?
There's always tension whenever you fight anyone. This is a fight at the end of the day. We're not playing chess, we're fighting. So there's always gonna be tension there. But then him discrediting me, Kamaru Usman, he came in the UFC, I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the f is this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, there's another African in the UFC. That ticked me off a little bit, so that's what started this. But again, I'll finish it.
That's what they aired.
And also again,
this is what he really said.
He tried to discredit the Three Kings and say that he's the real true African champion. And I was just like, it's a weird mindset, bro. Like, he came in the UFC. I knew who he was a little bit, but I didn't go, oh, who the fuck's this fake dude coming in? I just said, cool, there's another African in the UFC. But then him discrediting me, Francis Ngannou, Kamaru Usman, that ticked me off a little bit. So that's what started this. But again, I'll finish it.
They literally edited his name out of the answer. Edited his name. Izzy was bothered. Dana White was asked about it at a press conference. You know, feigned ignorance, said, oh, I have no idea. Oh, Lene, do you know anything? Oh, Chris, do you know anything? He does that whole bit, calls up Kevin Iole, says, no, my troops were, being good soldiers. And let's take him at his word. Let's believe that there was an editor or producer out there who said, oh, no, we can't show anything about Francis Ngannou, right? We can't do that. He's persona non grata. I know what that feels like. Trust me. Let's do that. Let's scrub his name out, even though it's quite obvious that when you talk about the three kings, you're talking about Izzy, Kamaru, and Francis. Let's scrub him out. Let's just, say, it was a mistake. It was an honest mistake. The producer went into business for himself. The editor tried to, score some brownie points. He went into business for himself or herself. Who knows? The problem is, almost exactly a year prior, Kamaru Usman, before the Khamzat Chimaev fight on Embedded, is wearing a Francis Ngannou t-shirt, October of 2023. He's now long gone. Why is that t-shirt scrubbed out? Why is it blurred out? Hey, bro, Usman, that's a nice shirt you have there, but I can't see what is in front. Oh, if you're wondering, it's that shirt. Ngannou, Cameroon, Africa, courtesy of our friends over at Roots of Fight. Oh, surely that's a mistake. Surely the countdown edit was a mistake. If it was such a mistake, why are they scrubbing people's t-shirts? Why are they blurring out? Like, come on, this is next level pettiness. Because he walked away. Because he said thanks, but no thanks. You guys are winning. You're the big behemoths. You're the number one organization in combat sports. No one went in to business for themselves. Those are the marching orders. And oh, by the way, in case you're wondering, when Tafon Nkuchi is fighting, Nchikui, I screwed that up. Only Cameroonian fighter in UFC history. Remember that? You might say to yourself, damn, that's a shot at Francis. He was from Cameroon. Actually, it's a shot at Francis and Ramo Thierry Sokoudjou, the legend. Francis noting that Thierry Sokoudjou was the first Cameroonian in the UFC. I was second. Don't let them lie and erase history. That's 2 months prior. That's 2 months prior to the Usman thing and a full year prior to the countdown thing. This is not deliberate. Excuse me. This isn't a coincidence. It is very deliberate. It is extremely deliberate. No way is this a coincidence. They are trying to scrub him. They are trying to paint this new narrative, this new story that he's all about the money, that he was afraid, that he's a bad guy. And it's hard to watch. And it's uncomfortable to watch because all of this could be eliminated with one statement. We're not in the Francis business. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Goodbye. And ultimately, what kicked all of this off was the first comment that he was all about the money, right? That's what kicked this all off back on Thursday. And they've gone back and forth, and there was stuff about the pay, and we asked them about the pay and all, but that's what really ignited this latest chapter. All about the money. And remember what I said about being a prize fighter? Remember what I said? How could you knock anyone, even if that is their sole intention, to make as much money as possible? How can you knock anyone, even if they come from the best background possible? You're going in there with 4-ounce gloves to punch another man. Of course you should be all about the money. Of course. Let alone someone who is from Cameroon, who grew up in a hut with no electricity, with no running water, who wore, he told us recently, he wore the same pair of shoes for years and years, who used the same toothbrush for 11 straight years. The same toothbrush. That's how poor he was. Escaped. Slept in a parking garage. Of course that guy should be all about the money. But why does he have that mentality? Why does he have that thought process? Why should he be all about the money? Why is he right to be all about the money? It's because the man that he is feuding with, the president of the UFC, is the one who tells fighters to be all about the money. For all intents and purposes. What does Dana White always say? This isn't a career, it's an opportunity. You've heard him say this, right? Put that in YouTube. Put Dana White career, not opportunity, and see how many different clips come up. This is a career, not an opportunity. Excuse me. This is an opportunity, not a career. Did I screw that up? I've been talking for a long time. This is an opportunity, not a career. This is an opportunity, not a career. A career is something. Oh, it's a long race. It's a marathon. No. He's saying this is a sprint. Get yours, get in, and get out, because you rarely come out unscathed. Not sound familiar? Let's go back to 2020. Let's go to June of 2020. Let's go to Dana White talking about opportunities and careers.
You know, when you're a professional athlete, you have a very small window of opportunity, a very limited amount of time. You know, we get into all this money shit and the stuff that's going on right now. Everybody acts like this is a fucking career. This isn't a career. This is not a career. This is an opportunity. Anything can happen at any given moment. Knee can blow out. You're back. You're this. You're that. COVID-19. You know, who the hell knows what is coming down the pipeline? So you have to take every opportunity that you can get.
Knee could blow out like it did for Francis. COVID-19 like it derailed Khamzat Chimaev's career. Take every opportunity. He's telling you right there, fighters, take every opportunity. Get yours. Be greedy. Obviously, you have to work within reason. But if you have that mentality, and if you told us time and again, this is an opportunity, not a career, meaning an opportunity for me is a very, very, very small window, a short-lived time frame, not a career that lasts 20, 30 years. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I agree with that mentality. Every fighter should have that mentality. How could you shit on a guy for trying to improve his life, trying to improve his family's life, trying to get the freedom that he so wanted, trying to go out there and live a dream in his late 30s to box? That was where this all started. He wanted to be a boxer first. Trying to grow something like PFL Africa to give other fighters from his country an opportunity. Where's the bad guy? How could you sit there and shit on this guy and attempt to smear his name and attempt to make him out to see to make him out to be the bad guy, the enemy here, the greedy, scared, didn't want to risk his pristine record. And we could go through that whole thing all over again. We did it once. It's on YouTube. Enjoy yourself. The idea that he wanted, he wanted easy fights, that he didn't want to. He didn't want to like risk his record. He didn't want to take chances. He goes out there and fights the number one heavyweight in the world, and then he goes out there and fights Anthony Joshua. That sound like a guy that didn't want to take chances? That sound like a guy that didn't want to take risks? The whole thing is ludicrous. The whole thing gives me a headache. I say, Lord have mercy, end all of this. I don't know if he can help himself. Because going back to Francis's point, in this particular battle, not the Great War, but in the battle of, okay, I say no to you multiple times, I'm going to go out there and live my best life, Francis wins quite easily. He wins in the personal battle, not in the war of UFC versus Francis. Of course, the UFC comes out on top. Even Dana White's life, he's doing just fine. They're all doing just fine. Why can't you just be happy for the guy? Or at the very least, just say, God bless. I'll never understand it. We're all wired differently. But I hope in the last hour or so, I've explained to you why when I saw that first clip on Thursday, I had to watch it a few times because I couldn't believe all the bullshit being spewed. I couldn't believe all the nonsense. Is this the end? Is this the last chapter? Probably not. But I hope you now understand who's telling the truth and who isn't. I'll let you guys make that decision. Coming up in a moment, we are going to be joined by Darren Till, hopefully by Alex Volkanovski as well in about 30 minutes' time. Still much to discuss as far as UFC 308 is concerned, and tomorrow on the program we'll have much more regarding 308. Remember, we're Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday these days. Boys in the Back on Thursday, Crack on Friday. Weekend off, no major event. That's kind of nice. Shout out to Magomed Ankalaev. He did everything that was asked of him, and I'm happy to hear. As for the comments in the post-fight press conference, I'm very happy to hear that he is going to be next. That should be the fight. You can make a strong case that he should have been next after the Johnny Walker win. They didn't give it to him then. at some point a decision has to be made when someone is on a streak like that. Like we got to give it to him, right? And it's somewhat reminiscent of the Bilal Muhammad streak. And so they are going to give it to him. Love that. That's the way it should be. Is it going to be the most exciting pay-per-view of all time? Is it going to sell the most pay-per-views? No. But unbeaten in that many, I think it's 12 now. He's got to get it. Solid win over Alexander Rakic. It would be a travesty if he's not next. He even tried to speak English in the post-fight interview. Love that. Shower Bullet with a massive win. Never seen anything quite like that. Double spinning back fist. Did you guys see at the open workouts, he practiced this? Do we have that clip? He practiced. He showed it to us. He showed us his hand. Spinning back fist. Right, then left. And he nailed it in the second round against Armen Petrosyan. This guy's unbelievable. Look at this. Bang. 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 Okay, that's a spinning back elbow to a spinning back fist, but close enough. This guy's incredible. What a vibe he has. What an aura he has. Afterwards, he talked about Izzy. I would love to see that. Izzy with a great response. He was doing the watch party thing, and he's like, what do you say? Leave my name out your mouth? I think he was... Is he so good with the references? I think he was talking about the Will Smith thing. I think he was paying homage to that. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Absolutely.
Is that what he was saying?
Will Smith from the Oscars, and then 50 Cent.
Did I say Martin Lawrence?
Yeah.
No. Who am I talking
Chris
about?
Rock.
Chris Rock. Fuck.
Yeah, all-time moment.
Wait, why 50 Cent?
50 Cent, because then he said, what do he say fuck me for?
Oh, what's that from?
50 Cent was doing something, but like it's a super popular meme. Someone said something about 50 Cent, and he was like, "What? Why do you say fuck?"
Oh,
me
the one
for?"
where it's like this one.
Yeah, he's like, "What?"
yes. I've seen that.
Yeah, he was making those references.
Yes,
it is
yes.
funny as hell that he's sitting on his couch, just like chilling and like watching the fights, and then he gets called out.
Yeah, and people are like, I mean, I would love to see it, but yes, it's amazing to see it from that perspective, right? You're like in your pajamas.
Yeah, he's like all of us, just chilling,
Right.
watching the fights, and then some crazy, scary-looking dude is just like, "Adesanya, come back, I'll whoop your ass."
I always love those Izzy clips because the events happen in the morning in Australia, so it always looks like he had just woken up. You know, like he's eating breakfast or he's in his pajamas, he's chilling, like he's half asleep. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I mean that's my dream is to live in Australia so I can just watch these fights at like 7
Sunday morning.
Like it's just like you're watching the Prem or something.
Oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine waking up every weekend and it's like 9 a.m. and UFC is starting? I think that's when it would start. It's incredible. You like that fight? Shower Bullet against Izzy?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta think on that. Do we throw Shara into the fire like that? His first ranked matchup is against Israel Adesanya.
Too soon?
Yeah, I feel like it's too soon.
Too big of a jump?
Too big of a jump.
Anyone come to mind?
For Shara or for Izzy?
For Shara.
Let's get him a ranked matchup for sure. To
Yeah.
win emphatically like that, I definitely think we get him a ranked matchup. Let's take a peek at the old rankings, huh?
Chris Curtis, 15. Michelle Pajeda, 14.
Michelle Pajeda. That ain't a bad shout.
Anthony Hernandez, 12.
Well, I don't know, man. I feel like Anthony Hernandez is
going to take him
on
down.
the way up, man.
Yeah.
Paulo Costa? Shara versus Paulo?
Oh, hey, Frank.
Yeah, we're working through Big Darren Till right here. If I seem distracted.
Marvin Vittori, Jared Cannonier. It might be too big of a jump. I mean, Izzy is ranked number 2, so that might be insane,
Yeah,
but credit to him.
Jack Hermanson? That's not a bad shout.
Man, they tried to do Jack Hermanson against Joe Pyfer, and he screwed it all up.
Hamzat Shemaev coming in ranked 13th.
Yeah, that's not gonna last. And by the way, do you disagree with my Magomed Ankalaev take? Is there anyone else?
No, it has to be him.
Yeah.
If the next fight for Alex Pereira is for the 205 strap, it has to be against Magomed Ankalaev.
And by the way, if I'm Alex, like this idea that he's just gonna get completely steamrolled by him, I say like no, hogwash.
Absolutely not.
Right? He's not Khabib.
Magomed Ankalaev didn't attempt a takedown in the fight on Saturday.
Sure. Do you think that was on purpose?
I don't know.
It is kind of crazy that, like, if that was true, that, he had to he had to sort of say to himself, don't do this, because if you do it, I'm not gonna get a title shot.
I mean, it's not like what we saw was like some like performance that locked it in, like it was like wildly exciting. So I don't think he did it on purpose. I think the fear was more, if I lose, I'll never get the title shot.
Right.
He just likes to strike.
Good for him. Yeah, if I'm Alex, I'm not too bothered. All right, let us go to Liverpool. Our old friend Darren Till is standing by, and I wanted to have him on because he obviously knows the men who competed in the co-main event quite well. Different reasons, of course, different relationships, but always nice to catch up with Darren. Darren, are you there? Yeah, there he is. How are you, Darren? You doing all right? Darren, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you?
Can you hear me, Ariel?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, sorry, I can hear you.
How are you? I said your name Darren like that. Isn't that how they say it in Liverpool? Darren?
Yeah. What, Darren?
Darren. How are you?
Darren. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I didn't know you were a big Utah Jazz fan.
Yeah. Wow, you just noticed this T-shirt? Yeah, this is a company in Liverpool called Lost Goals.
Oh.
And they've done like, it's cool. Excuse me.
You all right? Did you just have dinner?
Yeah. I feel like I've just burped, farted at the same time. I don't know which hole I can't. This is weird. Sorry, Eddie.
No problem. What did you have for dinner?
I had a pasta, like a macaroni and cheese pasta. It was absolutely glorious. Yeah, it was nice.
How was life?
I always hate it when you ask me this question, Ariel.
Why? I ask from a point of sincerity and genuine interest.
Well, I haven't heard of you for a while, so I'm not going to believe that. I'm going to take that with a pinch of salt.
What does that mean? I didn't have a show for like 3 months. In fact, actually, yeah. In fact, when I announced my comeback, I was so excited about it. I showed off my new studio, and the top comment was you doing like a yawning emoji or some shit like that. There I am. I was like, "Are we going to do this again?" And truthfully, I really wanted to reply with a zinger about like, "Are you referring to the state of your career?" But I was so afraid that you would, release some personal information about me again. I left it alone. I mean, give me credit. I showed some restraint, some maturity.
Well, with me was mad, but yeah, I'm sorry. No. I actually didn't Can I just explain something, Ariel? I feel like people are really confused with me on Twitter sometimes. I don't actually look at stuff. Sometimes I just put stuff and deal with the consequences later. So I didn't actually know what you was putting up. I just put a yawning face. I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't have done that.
No, it was
I'm
a
saying
big deal.
sorry again.
It was a big deal. I'm walking out. I'm feeling all good about our new set here. We got a new show, a new studio, and fucking Darren Till back in my comments, top comment, just shitting all over it. I'm like, man, I thought we got over this.
I'm so sorry. Like, I've got MMA Guru on the back foot at the moment because I have his phone number. I think he's scared I might release it. So who knows?
No, I don't condone that. He's a huge fan of me. No. Just by this comment alone, he's going to do a 90-minute breakdown on just this alone. Anytime his name is mentioned, he does a 90-minute breakdown. It's amazing.
Of a 90-minute breakdown of me and you, or this conversation?
Anytime his name is mentioned on my show, he does a 90-minute breakdown because he's figured out that if he puts my name in the title, he's able to get over 100,000 views. So he watches everything so closely, and he does a breakdown. He'll put my face.
I'm feeling like you have a beef right now. So am I right in saying you guys beef? Or
no, there's no beef. I've actually given him props, but anytime his name is mentioned, so you just gave him 100,000 views. Well done. There is actually no beef. How could you have a beef? Never met the guy.
No, I don't have a beef with MMA Guru. I think he's okay. He rants a lot. But yeah, he's cool. I don't know.
Why every time I go on Twitter, I always see you like fighting with like models or people? Like, why do you get into these arguments with people? Why do you feel the need to waste your mental space with this stuff?
Do you know what? That's a good question, Ariel, because I actually don't judge people. To be honest, I am a very not judgmental people. you know, when you just have them days and you hate the world and what it's become, and especially social media, I just can't help myself sometimes. But I think you're referring to the Ellie Brooks situation. So there's more clout for someone else. Yeah, I don't think she needs it. She's looking actually quite big now, but yeah, she was just annoying me. But she said that all is good between me and her now. So yeah.
Is she the boxer?
Yeah.
No. There was another one where you were referring to the girl as sweetheart, and she's like sweetheart, and she's saying like, oh, you know that you were. There was some. All of a sudden, I see because I see your reply, and you're fighting with this person.
No. She like. I think something happened where somebody released like something about her, like naked pictures, and she's just like a normal girl. So, but she does put herself out there. But then she was saying like, oh, you know, whatever, would someone do this? So I just made a comment, not even to her. I was like, made a comment on the thread, and I was like, oh my god, like guys should not be doing this. This is so bad towards women, especially. I have 4 daughters, so I'm all like girl power. And then, but I said something along the lines of like, but she loves the attention. So, and then she replied back to me just like, oh yeah, another guy trying to get me. And I was like, it's not that type of party, love. Like, I wouldn't, no disrespect, I wouldn't look at you twice if you ever seen you in person. Like, and then she replied again, like, lies, something along the lines of like, we know you want me, you're him. And I was just like, I don't want your love. You're 40. Like, you know, whatever. I don't want to say something nasty, but that was it. Like, I was like, I've happily got a girlfriend. I am not looking at you in that way. But okay. And then she just come back at me again, like, yeah. And I was just like, love, just please stop. And she did. So I won with kindness.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Why even like take the real estate in your mind? And you're off Instagram as well.
Yeah, I got deleted on Instagram for posting a Donald Trump clip.
No way. Serious?
Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg, I've come to the conclusion. I know Paddy goes at him. Mark Zuckerberg's not a good guy.
Why do you feel that way?
I just don't think he's a good guy. I think he's a fan of fighting. That's all good. But he is literally. I think he is literally trying to censorship the things we are trying to say and do and all this. And like, I've had trolls in the past come at me on Instagram and say mean, hateful, nasty things. I have then sometimes replied with an even nastier thing, and I have been suspended, deleted, and I've like Twitter's probably a little bit too much far the other way. But at the same time, why are we getting censored for saying stuff and speaking our mind and stuff like that? I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Well, yeah. Well, what did you post? Because I see stuff about Donald Trump on Instagram all the time.
It was like I actually didn't realize it was like an AI generated thing that he was at a rally. It was something fake, but it was something that he was saying. I think it was him and Elon Musk or something to do with Andrew Tate. And I posted it, and straight away it just said, "We've deleted your account," and stuff like that.
Damn. And is there any way to get it back, or are you done with it?
Oh, I just don't care, Ariel. As you've just said, I shouldn't care enough to comment on these stupid people's things, but sometimes I do. But I just don't care enough. Like, social media is just not a big part. This is what I do with Twitter, Ariel. You have to realize how much I do not care. I delete the app off my phone for long periods of time. I have the team block asset. Shout out block asset, by the way, Ariel. We're still here. We're still going strong.
Yeah, come on. What's the rate on a gorilla having a pizza party these days? What can you get?
you cannot get nothing. That fell down.
Okay, fair enough.
But we do have our online casino now, BlockBet. We are all over the UFC. We're obviously global partners with the UFC now. We just got back from Singapore. The online casino is absolutely flying, might I say. Manchester United want to get involved with us and for us to be their Asian betting partners, hopefully. So yeah, block asset, block bet, block picks is really doing well, Ariel. I would love to have you on board, but you didn't support.
Listen, no. Oh, are you trying to say that there's no room for me now because I didn't jump on the giraffe playing ping pong bandwagon?
There's always room for you, Ariel. You know.
And by the way, on this day of all days, to tout that Manchester United wants to be in business with you, I mean, that sorry state of a club, not exactly. You know what I mean? It's just a tough go for them. By the way, what about that win Nottingham Forest had against Liverpool at Anfield earlier this year. Did you see that one?
Yeah, seen that one.
Yeah.
He's trying to cause some beef.
No beef. I love you. Okay, so the reason I reached out to you before the weekend was I was like, oh, Whittaker, Khamzat, the perfect guy to talk about this fight is Darren Till. You obviously fought Whittaker. Great fight in the midst of the pandemic. We always remember you walking out, no music. It was chilling. And then, of course, your relationship with Khamzat. Can I ask, what were you thinking going into the fight? How were you feeling about the matchup going in? Not what happened, but just what were your thoughts going in?
Analysing the fight, Ariel, I've done a breakdown I actually done a really good breakdown where a guy who works with Block Assets, Saul Jakey, on the block picks and the block bets. So we done 5 picks for the fights. I got all 5 right.
Ooh.
I was very happy with myself. But my breakdown with Whittaker and Khamzat was literally as how you see it. If Whittaker could stay bouncy on the feet and use his bounciness, striking sort of evasive movement and drag Khamzat maybe into 4 and 5 rounds, because sometimes Khamzat has got tired, he could potentially drag out a decision win. I could never see him knocking Khamzat out. Khamzat's got a great chin and great, he's very resilient. All Russians are Chechens and, all stuff like that. So that was my breakdown, but I was sort of just like, how can Whittaker keep Khamzat off him for 5 rounds, let alone 2, 3, 1? So that was the breakdown. And I was like, well, obviously I'm always going to pick Khamzat because he's a brother. But at the same time, he's going to go for the takedown. And I feel like he's just going to get it. But I didn't expect the submission. I thought he was going to beat him up. So he's clearly been working a lot more with Alan Finfo, who's his jiu-jitsu coach, who was a very dear friend of mine. And it was fucking so relentless. And again, me and Khamzat are really close. We speak a lot. We FaceTime a lot. I've been close to him when he's been having his personal troubles outside the octagon. I send him messages of love about his family and stuff like that. So now it's title time. I feel like he is going to be the champion. And I'm going to be very happy for him. I am sincerely happy for him. Ariel, as much as I'm a fucking lunatic, I'm happy for everyone who does well. I'm happy for the likes of, I remember way back when me and Leon Edwards had a beef and he was the champion. I'm so happy for him. I'm happy for the likes of my old teammate Tom Aspinall being the champion. I am genuinely happy for all these dudes succeeding around me.
What about Bilal? You've taken some shots at him. Are you happy for him too?
Yeah. Why not? Why not? But he said he was going to come to Liverpool and spar me striking only, and that just would not go down well for most people.
Recently?
He said that on my Twitter Spaces. I'd done a huge Twitter Spaces, and he said he was going to come to Liverpool and beat me up. That's not happening.
Back to Khamzat, just to do that to Robert, to where you're cranking his neck and breaking his jaw. That's absurd. I think that was his best performance since that introduction in 2020. I know he fought Gilbert and Kamaru, but that was the guy that we all thought would be a champion in a year, right?
Look, Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the champion one way or another. That is a given. I literally spoke to him about 5 hours ago before. He was shouting down the phone at me because I never came to fight. So and then he was asking for some to get some winter clothes because he knows Liverpool has fashion. But he is going to be the champion 100 million %. In fact, I'm gonna probably do a bet now on the site for him to be champion by, let's say, first quarter next year. Is that possible? Would you say that's possible?
I think that would be a little too soon. Just the sort of the way the schedule will play out. Do you think that they should skip over Sean Strickland and make him fight Robert Whittaker? Excuse me, make him fight DDP next.
Yeah, no disrespect to Sean. Got nothing bad to say about him. I know him and Cam's at the beef, and now I actually do like Sean. I think he's done very well. But he's fought. He's done a great fight. I actually thought he won that fight against DDP. I actually do think he won the fight. But we've seen the fight.
Yeah.
Let's just watch Khamzat now and see how that plays out. We've seen that. We don't want to see that again. Just sorry to say, we don't want to see John Jones and Stipe. Stipe hasn't fought for 25 years. We want to see the best, greatest MMA fighter of all time versus John Jones. Versus Tom Aspinall. And then after that, we want to see everyone stop chatting shit and talking about my ego this, my ego that. As much as I love Dana White, there's one thing that pissed me off. Just make the fucking fight with Francis Ngannou. We don't care that you don't like Francis and Francis doesn't like you. Guess what? Wow, we don't care. No one's asked. Let's just watch John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou versus John Jones, and let them all fight, and then we'll say, right, he's the best right now. We don't care that, oh, he said something mean to me one time. We're not asked. Who cares? I don't care. Why do you care? UFC's always been the best because we give the best fights. Now, Sheikh Al-Sheikh is coming along and making all the best fights in boxing that all these divvy promoters, because they all lie through the teeth, couldn't make. Sheikh Al-Sheikh is now doing that. Now people are still chatting shit, but we're getting the best fights. We just want to see the best fights. Do you agree, Ariel?
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for saying that. Couldn't agree more. And by the way, it's so easy to make this fight because of Turkey. And also, they're both on ESPN. PFL and UFC are on ESPN. They have the same broadcast partner. Everyone wins. It's never been easier.
Look. I speak to Dane and I speak to Hunter a lot still. Like, I have a great relationship. I think he's a fucking terrific human being. And I love Dana White. I do. People can chat shit. I love him. But this thing, I know he's got a being as bonnet to Francis. And guess what, as I said, I don't judge. I don't judge the shit that Conor does outside the cage, or John Jones, or myself. The shit that you don't know that I get up to, that I use it vomiter. I just don't care. I care about the fight. I don't care that John Jones is on the cocaine a week before the fight. I couldn't give a rat's ass. I'll get on the cocaine with him to make us all happy. I want to see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, Francis Ngannou versus John Jones, and then I can sit there as a fan, like you, Ariel, and say, that's the best guy.
Yeah, that's all we want.
Do we agree with that? Fucking go and get your ego and shove it right up your ass where we can't see it. Sorry for ranting, Ariel, but I feel so strongly about it.
I love this from you. I love this from you, Darren. It's about time someone says it.
It's like, yeah, but because I don't give a fuck. Like, I couldn't care. Like, because people know what kind of guy I am and what I'm about. Like, they can say what they want about me, but I know I speak sense deep down. Like, every time a boxing promoter is asked a question about another boxing promoter, it's like, well, he did this and he said that. And we don't care. You're just a promoter. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth and make the fight. Like, Eddie, we don't care what Oscar De La Hoya is saying about you. We know he's a crazy cocaine head, but at the end of the day, can we just work together to make all these fights? Gervonta Davis is still fighting absolute bums. Why is he not fighting Devin Haney? Why is these rematches of Ryan Garcia can't get made? Why is Anthony Joshua not fought Tyson Fury yet? Can I tell you? Now that fight's gone because Joshua's just been fucking absolutely done by fucking Dubois.
This is brilliant.
It's not, because now I'm just gonna get talk shit about on Twitter and everyone's gonna come at me.
No. Sorry.
Call me a bum.
No.
I know I'm a bum. I don't care.
Can I ask you this, Darren? Khamzat DDP. You know DDP as well. How do you think that goes?
I just can't see past Khamzat. Again, Ariel, never excuses on me. DDP beat me fair and square. You know, but he's the champion now, so it just shows that, you know, I was one win away from being the champion against him. But I just felt like if I was a little bit more stronger than DDP at the time, I could have beaten him easily. I do know that. You've seen what I was like in the second round. I just don't see how DDP stops this unstoppable force like Khamzat. And again, DDP is so shit. He's so good. Would you agree with that? Okay, Ariel.
Would you agree with that? Yes or no? What does that mean? What is that?
He's so shit that he's so good. Like, everything he does is wrong, but just wins fights.
Is it the most awkward, unorthodox style that you've ever faced?
Well, no, because when he was doing his stupid shit to me in the second round, I was just moving and just elbowing him and kneeing him. But then he does these like weird, like, I don't know. Do you think he drinks before the fight?
I don't know. But like on that night, would you have ever guessed that he'd become a champion who defends his title? Like, would you have ever foreseen this?
Well, no, because one of the best guys I fought in the octagon was Whittaker, and then he done that to Whittaker, and I was just like,
yeah,
I can't look past this guy anymore. Then he beats fucking Strickland and Adesanya. Like, he's currently the greatest middleweight on the planet. he's better than Johnny Eblen. He has to be,
Yeah.
for me.
You know, we were talking
So-
about Khamzat, and I would love to see it next. I think it's infinitely bigger than the Strickland fight. I think he beats DDP. That version of Khamzat, I think, is one of the best fighters pound for pound on the planet. Forget about 185. But there's all this like ambiguity with his travel situation. And I said, and let me know what you could say on this, if 45 becomes 47, meaning if Donald Trump becomes president again, all those travel issues go out the window. Just ask Darren Till. He helped you get to New York City, right? Is that not true?
Donald Trump helped me get to New York City, yeah. 2 days before the fight, I was making wait. I was down in the embassy. And Dana White made a call and was just like, yeah, I'm going to get you into America. Donald Trump, this, that, the other. And next minute, the boss of the embassy runs down all anxious and hands me my passport and was just like, yep. And then I was on a private plane to New York. So, yep.
There you go. So
that's a true story.
Yeah, so he probably can fix any issues that Khamzat has traveling, if there are any.
Yeah, Donald Trump's the man. Would you agree? He's got to be the man.
Are there any issues for Khamzat that you know of?
No, I don't. I know he has a Swedish passport and I know he has a Russian one. Now I don't know whether to do with like obviously there was trouble with Russia and Ukraine way back when. I don't know whether that hurt Russian citizens, but I don't. He's been in America before, so I don't think he has troubles. Like I was there for the Gilbert Burns fight and Nate Diaz Kevin Holland fight, so I
Right.
don't know. Like,
Okay. Why weren't you in Abu Dhabi? You said he was mad at you for not being there.
I don't know. I don't know.
You couldn't be ours?
I'm not going to give any excuses. I just don't know. I should have been there, to be honest. But you know what? I'm working on a few things at the moment myself. I've got a few juicy offers on the table.
Oh, anything we'll hear about soon?
You already know. I'm sure you know. You infiltrate all these places. That's why Dana hates you.
Infiltrate? What the fuck? Infiltrate? What does that even mean, infiltrate?
When we're speaking, you usually know shit.
Oh, you think
you
I'm
know shit before I know shit?
Listen, but you know, here's the biggest thing. Am I ever wrong?
You've never been wrong with all that because you're so good at that.
Yeah, thank
But the only problem with you sometimes is you do like to, when you beef with a lot of people, you're like me, but you always try to make out that you've never done anything wrong. That's where maybe accountability comes into play.
Sure,
sometimes
but
with you.
I actually think that that's a misnomer that I beef with a lot of people. Like if you think about how long I've been doing this and how many fighters are out there, thousands upon thousands over the years, like you can name the beefs on one hand, but they're just so pronounced and they're so
Yeah.
out there. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
it makes it seem like larger than it is. And then of course, when you have an issue with the big boss, it feels even bigger.
Yeah. Dana's. It's hard when you beef with Dana than Dana is. He is a powerful guy, isn't he? And obviously, all the fighters are going to want to make him happy. And when you have like, I know you beef with like Ali. When you have Ali, who's got a lot of fighters.
That makes no
like,
sense. None of that makes sense. That's just Ali being a brown noser. He's being a house manager, and he thinks that being in Dana's, good graces will help him get better deals.
Yeah, as I say, I don't know why you two guys beef. I don't even know if you do beef still. So
No. Listen, that's not important. What's important is you. So there's some things coming down the pipeline. Do you think that we will see you back in there in the next few months?
Yeah.
Are you? Can I ask you? Are you dreading the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight? Because initially you were supposed to be on. Like, did you just want that to be over with? Because that was something you were linked to.
Yeah, it's fucking been a tough 2 years, Ariel. I'm not gonna lie. It's been miserable to be honest with you. It's been miserable. It's been tough, Ariel, to be honest with you. A lot of personal shit as well. Like I could probably bring up, but maybe it's probably not the right time. But like it has, and I've tried. Like last year, I really tried to fight, and I was probably in the best shape of my life last year. I was literally like just on fire, boxing, like just so ready. And then this year, the start of this year, I had a great year. Then I had that fight in Dubai, which is sort of a gimmick thing. I wasn't so happy about it, but I was like, okay, whatever, let's get the fights now. Now I feel like I'm going to be getting the real fights that I should be getting in boxing. And so, but yeah, it's fucking, it's the last 2 years has been really tough for me, Ariel. Really tough. Because I'm not one who puts stuff out there. Like, I'm not one of these who wants to portray the perfect life on socials. Like, I just portray anything on Twitter and let people run away with it. Like, people, for some reason, on Twitter think that I'm like stupid or something. Like, I'm stupid, yeah. Okay, I've built a business in crypto along with my partners that I know potentially one day in the next few years is going to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I am not a stupid person, but I just let people think whatever they think because I don't really give a fuck. So that image of portraying that I'm some like beast who trains 5 times a day on Instagram or Twitter, that life's not for me. I just portray the normal type of life. That's why probably so many people like me. But the last 2 years, I've really, really trained my fucking bollocks off. The past 2 months, I've been a lot like sort of demotivated, and I've just thought, what the fuck's going on? I need a fight. Is a fight coming? Like, whatever. So yeah, but if everything goes well in the next week or two, and I nail this fight news down, should be massive. You'll probably want me on the show again, I reckon. Soon enough.
Okay, I would love that. Can I just ask, like, how's your mental health?
I don't know. How's your mental health meant to be, Ariel, as a fighter? Are you meant to have good mental health or bad? Like, this is how I look at mental health. Yeah.
Okay.
This is how I look at mental health, Ariel. Right. And I don't know whether fighters would agree with this or not agree. So we train for years upon years to perfect our craft, whether it be whatever. And we can just go in the gym every day and do that. Like it's instilled in our brain, our muscle memory, like stuff like that. So there'll be days, area where you could have an argument with your girlfriend, or you could have a car crash or something would happen, and you still go to the gym, yeah, and get that shit done. But even though you've had a bad day or whatever's happened, yeah, okay. So why, when we're fighting, do we all of a sudden change our whole mentality and go, oh my God, like I've had an argument with my girlfriend just before the fight, or this happened or that happened, or am I going to be able to fight? Well, I don't get it. We've trained for 8 weeks. We've done the same thing every day. We put our body through hurt. We know how to fight. Like, we don't automatically forget how to throw a jab or to do a takedown. So why does it change on fight day where everything has to be perfect and your mental health has to be intact? So I don't know. Like, for me, being mentally strong is probably the most important part of it, but that's a different side of things. Like, mental health. Like, if you're depressed, does that mean so if I say to you now, Ariel, if I'm depressed, does that mean I all of a sudden can't throw a jab or a kick?
No. I wasn't necessarily even referring to that. Just, you said you were lacking motivation last 2 months and this and that. So I was just asking, do you feel like you're healthy up here? Do you feel like it's a cloudy time in your brain? Do you feel like it's a bit of a gray time? You know what I mean? We all go through it.
No, I'm definitely not healthy up here, Ariel. Like, I am one of the most mentally disturbed people you will ever come across.
What do you mean by that?
I am mentally disturbed.
In what regard?
Every regard. I am not a well person in the head.
Is that troublesome? Does that?
I love it.
Oh, you do love it?
Absolutely.
Are you worried about when you can't fight anymore, how you're going to be able to, live a productive life?
Oh no, like, no. I love the chaos. But what? Who the fuck, Ariel, wants to come home 9 to 5 and sit there and watch Netflix? I don't want to do that, mate.
Fair enough.
I want chaos in my life.
What makes you happy?
Chaos.
Okay.
Like, training hard, being chaotic, causing lots of stares on Twitter, getting my self cancelled nearly every week, getting my Instagram deleted, and doing all the other shit that I can't comment on here. That makes me happy.
This makes you happy.
Does it make me a bad person? Probably not. I'm not a bad person. I like to see everyone doing well, and I'm not an evil man. But I'm very troubled in the brain.
There's no part of you that's like, you know what? It would be nice to just kind of float by and not be involved in all these issues.
No.
Not even a bit. Just for like a few months.
In what regard? Because if I get this fight this week sorted, for the next 3 months, Ariel, I am going to do what I have always done really well. Like, I have always taken my camp and my training very serious. Like, I take going to the gym serious. Like, I train really hard. I really do. So after that, then I go completely loopy and then back into camp, train really hard, then go loopy and just keep it going till I retire.
Okay, boxing or
And
MMA?
then,
All right.
what do you mean?
This big news.
Boxing,
Hell
of course.
yeah. All right.
Hell yeah. Do you know who?
I don't know
who-
anything. Don't
do you
say
think
anything.
no, I'm going to say something. I could just blurt it all out.
No,
now,
don't
should
do
I?
it. Don't do it. See, this is
I'm
this is
hearing someone saying no.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
there
don't
a
do it.
parrot in here?
Don't
Is there a parrot in here or something?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I don't want you
I
to get in
wouldn't dare.
trouble. But do us a favor. When it is time, when it's out, come back on and we talk about it more.
100%, because I know you only like to speak to me to benefit your show.
That's
So
fucking
I'm
crazy.
good with that.
You asked me yesterday, what do you even want to talk to me about? Why are you asking me on? And I said, because I just wanted to chat with you, Darren. Don't be such a hater, all right? We do have to
Ariel,
mut on, but we love
yeah,
you.
let's move on. But you do know 90% of the time I'm just trolling.
That's
That's my mojo. You know that. You know it. You know, aside from the beef we've had, you know I'm a good guy deep down, Ariel.
Sure, most of the time. I wish you the best,
Oh,
Darren.
yeah.
God bless.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
We'll speak in a few weeks, Ariel, okay?
Yes, sir.
And
Looking forward.
shout out to everyone who still supports me. I appreciate the support. And everyone who hates me, I couldn't give a rat's ass. Thank you as well.
Amen. Here we go. We say thank you very much to Darren Till, and now we say hello to our next guest. He is arguably the greatest featherweight champion of all time. He has the stats and resume to back it up. It's been a while since we spoke to Alexander the Great. He was there in Abu Dhabi on Saturday. Obviously, he's the one we want to talk to on this Monday after what transpired Saturday night. He's kind enough to join us, I believe, back home in Australia. Is he back home? Yes?
Yes, back home.
Well,
how are you?
It's great to talk to you, Alex. It's been a while. I don't know if you've missed me as much as I've missed you, but I really have missed you.
Yeah, I thought that just before when I woke up, when I knew we were doing this, I'm like, man, it's been a while since we last chat.
Yes. So thank you so much for doing this, especially early over there in Australia. And so let's get into it. You were there in Abu Dhabi, and I have to give you credit, Alex, right off the bat. I love the way you handled Fight Week. No one does this better than you. You make your presence felt. Videos of you going up, letting everyone know I'm here, shaking hands with Ilia, shaking hands with Max. That felt very deliberate, like letting them know, hey, much love, much respect, but I'm here, I am next, I'm waiting. Was that done on purpose on your part?
Yeah, of course it was. I've been told I was next, but I want to go over there and make sure of that, and let everyone know at the same time. I wanted to be respectful with it. So actually, how that happened, I guess I'll give you a bit of the inside.
Please.
I end up just letting the boys know, Hunter and Dana. I'm just like, let us go. I really want to get in the cage, and then they're like, okay, let us just let Dana do his thing first, do the belt, and we'll see what's happening from there. So when he come out, I think he was a little unsure. Look, his family was in there, which I totally understand, right? Like he's like, look, man, I don't know, I want to give him his moment. His family's in there, I don't want nothing to happen, and I just have to sort of tell Dana, look, I've been good with his family. He's got a beautiful family. I've actually been talking to him all week. I've even been hugging him, and I've been real cool with him. I go, look, nothing's going to happen. I'm going to go there, congratulate him, and just let everyone know I'm next. And then Dana's like, all right, no worries. So so it was good to have Dana and Hunter let that happen. Obviously, they don't usually like people getting in there. They've made that pretty they've been pretty vocal about that. But as they said, they don't really like saying no to some people. I've done plenty for them, and they've been great to me as well. So that's why I just wanted to go in there. I know this game can be crazy. You think you're next, and sometimes you just don't know. So I'm just like, hey, I want to go over there and make sure I'm next. So I just went in there and was able to get in there, shake hands with him, congratulate him on an impressive performance, and just let the world know that I'm next. I'm ready and keen to get in there.
Do you recall what he said to you, or even more what you said to him?
To Ilia?
Yeah, in that moment, what you guys were saying to each other.
Just congratulated him. Congratulate him, and he said most of it on the mic anyway. Just saying, obviously great champion. I definitely deserve the rematch, and I just before he said that, I'm just like, we'll make that happen. Just sort of wanted to be like, congratulations. Just we'll make sure, just sort of let him acknowledge which he already did on the mic, and he was good. And then obviously just shook heads. And all respect, I know a lot of people, you're going to be unsure with how things are. Look, this is a business. Everyone knows how this game works. He does say some things, but he's a respectful kid.
No one knows those two fighters better than you. What were you thinking going into the fight as far as how it was going to play out, and then your reaction when you saw it actually play out? Was that different?
Yeah, look, we all know Ilia is good. I was picking Max. I thought Max would win. I was like, I think he's going to make it hard for Ilia, and even if he lands on Max, I feel like Max. Let's see if that invincible chin holds up. You know what I mean? But I knew Ilia can crack, so I knew that was still going to be always a chance that he gets the finish. I'm surprised within the third. Max showed Ilia that respect and didn't really pour on the pressure because he knew, I can get hit if I pour on too much pressure. So he wasn't able to really wear on that gas tank. Ilia gas tank held up and found that finish, which was impressive. So did Ilia show me anything new? Nah, that's the Ilia that I knew was always there. Anyway, he's always been good. So we always knew that he's got that punching power and he's he's good at setting it up. So nothing surprised me in that sense. But to do what he did to Ilia, Max, that probably surprised me because I was thinking maybe that chin, because so many people have tried cracking that chin. I just thought, this is going to be a test for him because he's probably going to go in the later rounds. He's going to, maybe his power might not be as effective as it always is. Let's see how he handles that, and he handled it well.
Was there any part of you from what you were seeing out of Max in terms of the success that he had with Ilia that thought, okay, this is good to know? Like, did you learn anything about what Max was doing to him?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't say I learned anything new. I didn't learn anything new. So it's sort of if you look at my breakdown, I sort of talk about Ilia, and I was saying even with me, like I've been pretty vocal with it as well. Like I don't believe I've really fought my fight, but I was still able to land and still make Ilia miss. But the thing is with Ilia, like he will stay. Like he don't care. Like he might miss, you might start landing. Especially while he's fresh, he's still just gonna, he won't be phased. You land, he'll just keep coming forward. He won't care about things not going his way. And that's sort of what I seen in there as well. Like even though Max was having some success, so was Ilia. He didn't go off task. He just, was pushing forward. He goes, I need to eventually find it. Even though I haven't found the KO shot yet, I'll stay on course. I'll be, maybe stoic through it all. Like, you know what I mean? Not phased. He would just be. Even though I was, as I was saying, I was landing every one of my jabs. Most of my jabs were landing clean. I landed some clean shots, but trying to avoid things straight away at the same time, which I probably could have capitalized a little bit more. But he didn't care. He would just be like, "I'll eventually find it. I'll eventually find it." So that's impressive when things aren't going your way, but having that confidence to know that I'll eventually get there.
Did you have a favorite as far as who you wanted to see win? Did you think it was better for you if one guy won as opposed to the other?
Obviously, I want that rematch with Ilia. So that's something that I want more. But at the same time, I don't want to wait too long. So I was thinking with Max, do I fight him sooner? That's why I was saying that. That's why I was talking about it in a lot of the interviews. A lot of people thought who I thought would win and who I wanted to win. And it was a tricky question because I'm like, I want that rematch with Ilia. I want to get that win back. But at the same time, I don't know when he's going to fight next. If Max wins, does he do BMF? And then that means I can fight sooner, maybe for the interim, or do I fight Max in February in Sydney? Because that'd be great. But with Ilia, I don't know when that fight's going to be, to be honest. So that's why I wasn't sure. But I mean, Ilia was great in the octagon. He said I deserve that fight. Let's make that happen. I just don't know the timing of it. So we'll see what happens.
Were you surprised? I thought he was very respectful towards you, and he said, no, this is the guy. Did any of that surprise you? Were you expecting him to say otherwise?
Yeah, maybe, because it's cool, in front of the cameras, you know what I mean? Like maybe, but obviously he was happy, he was wrapped. His job was done, he didn't have to say too much, you know what I mean? He put on a performance. Now he could just, I'm just going to enjoy it. So he seemed like in a pretty good mood. So he didn't have to try and hype up anything for the cameras. Maybe he's in a position now. He's like, I don't need to do any of that. So yeah, I guess I was a little bit surprised. Like I said, we're good. Like you know what I mean. A lot of people are going to see things being said, but we're cool. You know what I mean. We're all good. But you've got to hype up fights and whatnot. But yeah.
After the fight in February, you very clearly wanted to get the first crack at him. Were you ultimately upset, disappointed, annoyed that you weren't his first title defense?
I sort of knew that was going to happen, just the way things were rolling, because I made everyone aware that I wanted to have a good break. A lot of people saying I should have done that before the last one, but I did that now. I had a really, nice, long, well-needed rest. Have never had a break like that ever. It was good, But then I was like, so I was talking to the UFC then, letting them know that I want to, and then it was looking like they might fight earlier in the year. So I was like, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm, let them do the thing. I'm happy to wait. But then that fight just getting pushed back. And then before that started happening, I'm like, man, this fight's going to end up being sort of when I wanted to fight.
Right.
Whether that was on purpose or I don't know. But yeah, so like, the UFC were, they wanted me to rest as well. So they probably think this timing was better for me anyway. I would have loved to fight around now or early next year, you know what I mean? But no later than that. That's just, but again, I'm not in a position where I can just call the shots, especially make someone who just fought for his title, make him fight sooner than he wants to. But hopefully he wants to be active and get back in there. We'll see what happens.
So as you said, Sydney in February, obviously that would be perfect for you. He said afterwards, like, I called the shots, I'm the guy, and I want a break. So does it sound like, based on what he has said, and it probably would have been a long shot for him to turn around in 3 months, that you've kind of forgotten about Sydney at this point and not expecting to be on that card?
Yeah, I guess so. Look, man, it's still early. Yeah. It's going to be tough, to get him over to Sydney. I always knew that. That's why I was saying maybe I'd prefer Max winning just purely for that sense. But at least I know I'm guaranteed next. We'll see where it is. Remember, Madrid or a stadium or something sounds great. Like maybe I'd fight in enemy territories. I don't think I'm an enemy anywhere in the world at the moment. I hope not anyway. But I mean, obviously he's going to have a massive crowd. I'm okay with that. I've fought enemy territories how many times? Been booed plenty of times. So it's that'll be huge. Imagine a massive event in Spain. It's just, when is it? Is that later in 2025? And I'm like waiting, 2 years before I fight. It's I'm not getting any younger. Everyone knows that. I've got one last crack at this title, and I'm going to put everything into it. So hopefully earlier next year we can make it happen.
If it is one of those things where it's going to take a while to find a date, if they want to go to Madrid, etc., do you have a period where you're not going to wait? Does being active mean more than getting another crack, or are you waiting indefinitely until they say, okay, now it's time?
Good question. Right now, I'd say I'm waiting. Because I'm not thinking it's going to be too long, and I don't want to put other things out there. If it's going to be a crazy wait, or if there's injuries or something like that we're not aware of, and then they want to do an interim or something like that, we'll see. But yeah, I think he's pretty healthy, and we could make it happen sometime early next year.
We all remember what you said leading up to the Islam short notice fight about just getting sort of those itchy knuckles and wanting to be back in there, right? By the time this happens, let's say it's February. Let's just say it seems like a long shot, but let's just say that will be a year between fights for you. Most likely we're talking 15, 16 months, right? Most likely.
Yeah.
14 months. Yeah. How are you dealing with this? Already we're at 8 months since your last fight. The prospect of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 months, that period was 3 months when you came back to fight Islam. How is that guy going to deal with this layoff?
Yeah, it's fun because I made the choice. Like, you know what I mean? It was clear to me that I was having a break, that I was having a rest. That was clear to me. You know, I didn't feel like, you know, I don't have a belt that I feel like, you know, responsibility that I need to defend. I need to be, you know what I mean? Right now, I don't have the belt. My next fight is for the belt. So it's clear to me what's next and how it is. You get what I mean? So, and it was clear that I wanted the rest. So that was fine. I really enjoyed the break, you know, which a lot of people, I don't know if they can understand what I'm saying there, because I'm like, wait, you couldn't handle that. But that was different circumstances where I was still the champ and I was expecting the fight soon. I wanted to still stay active. So yeah, that was just, you know, I felt like, you know, I still had a job to do as a champion. Again, it's a responsibility where now I don't have that responsibility, but, and I knew that, yeah, I knew I wanted that break. Now I'm starting to be like, all right, I want to get in there. But at the same time, it's still clear that it's not too early next year. So I'm not, you know, I'm not yeah, it got quite you know, more uncomfortable for me last time, which was just weird. I think, you know, you got to remember I had a newborn, sleepless nights, you know, just things like that. So the pressure's on. But now we're good. Got a new farm, enjoying myself, enjoying the time off a lot. You know what I mean? It's especially because I haven't had a fight locked in. It's been quite, you know, almost hard to get to training. Like, because I'm like, oh, I want to be on the farm and, you know, do all this. I've been enjoying it a lot. I've obviously been training, but I haven't been doing the full schedule, which has been good. It's been good to not do a full schedule. If I did a full schedule this whole time, mate, I'd be worn out. I'll be almost over it. So I'm glad that I haven't done that, especially knowing that it's still going to be a few months away. But after being there last Saturday or a couple of days ago, now I'm like, all right, let's get in there. Let's get back into it. Let's start picking up that training and get back to where we were.
Did you move to a farm?
Yeah, I got a farm.
Wow, with animals and stuff?
Yeah.
What kind of animals?
16 or 17 cows. Actually, we've had 5 calves in the last few weeks.
Wow, and is this in Sydney?
Yeah, we're just south of Sydney, yes, near where I live. So mate, it's beautiful. It feels like I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I'm still close to everything. You know, I'm only like 20, 25 minutes from the gym, 20 minutes from the girls' school, and you know, everything we need just around the corner. So it's cool.
Was this a dream for you? Like, did you always want to live on a farm?
Yeah, I've always loved the bush. Always loved the bush. You know, I used to do a lot of camping, a lot of hunting with my dad and a brother and, you know, family and stuff like that. So it's something that I've always wanted to do. Mate, I would remember, you know, just driving past. Every time I drive past, like, you know, from out west, well, that's what we call the country. If I'm in the country and I'm, you know, seeing farms and, you know, that beautiful lush green land, I would always get this like, oh man, like this feel like I don't get that when I go past oceans and beaches. You know, don't get me wrong, they're great. I love a sea view and things like that, but it's not the same as when I'm out in the country. So I'm lucky enough where my veranda, I can see the lake, I can see the ocean, I've got a whole escarpment and farmland, like, you know. So I'm pretty lucky. I got the best of both worlds, and I'm you know, obviously blessed to be in a position where I could finally buy somewhere so close to home, because it's not cheap. It's not cheap around here. Let me tell you that. But it's sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's it. So it was like, it took me time, like to want to be able to spend money on myself. I don't usually like doing that. It's not myself, actually. It's for the family. Obviously, the big part of why we moved is for the kids as well. But I don't, you know, I've always been about investments and, you know, looking after us for later. It's always been about that. So I'm a bit of a tight ass when it comes to money, you know what I mean? Just because, you know, that's why I do what I do. That's why you know, I beat my body up. I've been beating my body up for so long, so I can look after my family forever, and I'll keep doing that. But this is the first time I was like, all right, let's splash out and you know, sort of treat ourselves and get something that we want. So I've got my dream location, and I'm just going to put the dream house on here for the wife. If the wife wants a dream house, I've got my dream location. So we're both winning.
I love it, and congratulations to you guys on that. I also saw. Did you open up a deli as well? Or is that a joke?
No, so that was with Sportsbet. Yeah, so that was just a little activation we did for a race day. So a lot of people thought that. So I'm like, here, I'm glad we could make that clear. That was just activation. So they had $100,000 up for grabs that day. So all you had to do is come to Volk's Deli, sign up, and if you know, they picked 18 people. If whoever won, whoever horse won, they got $100,000. So that was the whole thing. So yeah, it's not legit. A lot of people congratulating me. Oh, congratulations on the deli. I'm like, oh man, how do I tell everybody? You know. But yeah.
I was excited about it. I thought maybe some Takis with the chicken wings, some steaks. You know, like you're so. I mean, the Cooking with Volk Instagram page is one of the best right now. The production quality is fantastic, and now I'm not surprised about this because the old man Volk stuff that you do with that's the same sports betting partner, right? Sportsbet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That stuff is.
So we even did another.
Amazing.
Yeah, they're good. They're great. So I did another Old Man Volk with them. And you'll be seeing a bit more of the Old Man Volk.
What's the girl's name?
I see Tradie Volks. What's that? Sorry.
What's your rival's name?
Oh,
Beverly.
Bev.
It's fantastic. Who comes up with these things? Is this you and them, or like who comes? You are so good in that role, and of course, you played the role before the Ilia fight. But those skits are absolutely amazing. It's some of the best stuff out there.
Yeah, well, the stuff with the Old Man Volk, Sportsbet, especially their ads, that was all their idea. They come up with that. But I mean, you need a good talent to pull it off as well. So you know, they did a great job of that. Like they come up with the idea. I said, I love it, and then we just smashed it out. And you know, obviously everyone loved that. So, but I mean, we do a lot of my own skits as well. So the Tradie Volk, the concreting one, I don't know if you've seen that. There's stuff like that. Like I enjoy it. I love the little acting skits, and yeah, I don't know. It comes really comfortable for me. I even did a couple while we're over there in Abu Dhabi. Couple of media guys. I was like, you know, pretending I had the shits with them, and
I saw that,
stirring them up a little bit, and just having a bit of a laugh. But yeah, I love doing that sort of stuff because yeah, I find it. I wouldn't say easy, but it's. Yeah, I'm comfortable doing it all. So, yeah.
It was reminiscent of, I don't know if you ever saw the clip of Mirko Krokop back in the day in Pride scaring the shit out of Mauro Ranallo. He was pretending like he was really mad at Mauro, and Mauro was getting super nervous. So that clip that you're talking about with the media guys was exactly the same thing, except I hope you know that I'm saying this with the utmost respect. You're not as scary, as intimidating as prime Mirko Krokop back in the day, because that guy looked like he wanted to kill Mauro.
I mean, it wouldn't be for guys like that. It wouldn't be much acting, would it? Because they can just sort of keep that normal face, say a couple of things, and you're gonna think they're mad. I'm usually pretty happy and chirpy, so I've got to go way out of character to do that. So that's why a lot of people are like, "Wait, well, is this really happening? What's going on here?"
And you only let it go like a minute or so.
5'6" if I'm lucky, so I don't know how scared they were.
Yeah, and you only let it go like a minute or so because I don't know if you have it in you to be that mean for that long. If I'm being honest, can I ask you, Alex? Though, like again, as we acknowledged, it's been a while since we spoke. A year later, do you regret the Islam fight? Do you regret coming back so quickly after to fight Ilia?
No, I don't regret it. That's who I am. That's what's made me the champion I was. You know, yeah, a lot of people think it's just a bad idea, but I mean, if you look at it going in, that's me challenging myself. You know, me taking on Islam. Obviously, the timing thing was there, but the only thing I regret is, you know, I wish I was, especially before the Islam one, I just wish I was more prepared. I wish I was training more and in a better position. But I do not regret taking them fights because, as I said, that's just who I've always been. And if I wasn't the guy that would take on them challenges and wouldn't do that, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be just another guy here in Wollongong, Illawarra, that's maybe still playing rugby league and at a lower level, maybe. You know what I mean? But the fact that I am that guy that will challenge myself, that same guy that challenges himself in them moments when so much is on the line, he's still doing that in the gym. That's a guy that turns up in the gym every single day. So, it's easy to look at it in hindsight and be like, that was a silly decision. But that's who I am. And to be honest, people respect that. And I think a lot of people can learn from that as well. A lot of people sit there and be like, don't make silly decisions. You could probably learn both ways, but at the same time, don't be afraid to challenge yourselves. A lot of people thought I did other things that were crazy, and I did pull it off. And you know what I mean. And I put myself in a better position because of that. But again, that same guy turns up in the gym every single day, challenging himself and putting it all on the line in the gym. And I wouldn't be where I am if I wasn't that guy.
This may be a dangerous game, but do you credit what happened against Ilia to the Islam fight? Like, do you think if you just would have gone from the July fight to Ilia, do you think it's a totally different result?
That's a tricky one because Ilia can, I've always known that the only way I lose is if I get caught. That's just how I've always, maybe with Islam, he can take you into deep waters and then, you might be able to have, a close fight like we did. There's only very, very few fighters. I don't think anyone in my division that can do that with me, to beat me in a decision, actually beat me. But I've always known everyone can get caught. So I just wish, I think me fighting so soon later, maybe I just didn't get to fight my fight. Doesn't mean he couldn't catch me. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be able to be knocked out. And I was only knocked out because of what happened with Islam. But I mean, I would have been a lot more comfortable and happy with myself if I was able to, fight my fight and, go into camp, not avoiding, contact and, being careful with things and, you know what I mean? So that, maybe you're building habits, maybe you are subconsciously losing confidence that way. You would never been able to, you wouldn't have told me this beforehand. There's no way. So a lot of people are like, your team should have said this and all that because no one was going to tell me anything. I had it in my head that, trust me, we're good. This is, it ain't going to affect me. And a lot of people were saying that it can rock with your confidence. It can do this, it can do that. And I was sitting there laughing at them pretty much thinking, yeah, maybe you guys, not me. You know what I mean? And no one could have changed me. So a lot of people are going to be hard on the team saying it was the team's fault, but let's be real. Everyone knows what I'm like. And at the end of the day, it is going to come down to what I say. Your team are going to do the best they can to tell you otherwise. But everyone knew I wanted that fight. And, the team I have around me, they're going to accept, the challenges that I'm willing to do and take it on.
And
there's a lot of people that were unsure about Islam, the first fight.
Right.
Telling me like, do we really, want to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And then, okay, sweet, let's go. Let's get to camp. And we almost pulled that off.
What has it been like the last 8 months? The belt becomes part of your identity, being champion, and you were a champion for so long. I see it behind you over there. Just being the sort of, the hunter instead of the hunted, the guy who has to go out there and we remember you going to Edmonton and doing the things. And even when you were champion, you were going, short notice in Abu Dhabi. You didn't mind. You were a backup fighter, which was absurd, to even think of a champion put number one pound for pound. But now without any belt of any kind, has that been at all difficult?
Nah, not really. Like a lot of people like, how is it like being there fight week and all that? And I was just sort of a fan, but that had a job to do at the same time. I think there was one moment that I was doing TNT Sports. I was doing the weigh-in show. And then it popped up and I had Ilia wearing the belt with Max there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, they're fighting for the belt that I had for so long, Like it was just like that. But for me, I'm all good with it. You know what I mean? I'm okay with that. But, watching Ilia go out there and take Max out and knowing that I'm fighting him next, I'm back in a position where I felt like I was the hunter, even though I was getting, I was hunted, like, and everyone was chasing me. I always felt like I I was chasing the contenders at the same time, but it is different now. Right now, I feel like, all right, we've got some work to do. You know what I mean? You know, yeah. So I'm sort of in a position now where I feel like this kid's good. We can't mess about. We've got work to do. And you know what I mean? And I'm going to look at it that way, and I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to try and remember what my last fight. Remember his fight. Give him that respect. And you know what I mean? Like sort of how I was with Islam and some of the other guys. Well, Max the first few times. Well, Max all 3 times. Give him that respect. Was like, we need to prepare. We need to go all in on this. So I'm back in that position, which is going to be good. So I feel like we'll be seeing that same hungry Volk that we've seen for many years.
I'll let you go in a moment, but I'm just wondering, because we were debating this earlier, and I think your opinion on this would be fascinating. Male fighter of the year, Alex Pereira or Ilia Topuria? Some say that those 2 fights are 2 of the best in recent UFC history, but what Alex did, incredible, 3 fights, short notice, all that. Who would Volk vote for?
I mean, a few things can't come into play, right? When you're saving cards. Put it this way, if it wasn't Pereira saving cards and putting his belt on the line while he's saving cards, it would be clearly Ilia.
Mm-hmm.
You've had 3 defenses, but the 2 that Ilia took out,
mm-hmm.
Man, that's and finishing us both. You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to pick against Ilia, to be honest. And I thought it was like before the weekend. I was like, how does
yes.
Pereira not get it? Right? It was pretty clear. But then you go out there and have 2 massive wins like that. While I was champion, you know what I mean? While I was a defending champion, and then Max while he was still on a tear, like, you know what I mean? That's pretty impressive, man. You know what I mean? I think that takes over. It's tough for me to say because I was saying probably different last week. I was thinking it couldn't be beat, but now if you think about it, you think of the guys that Ilia beat. I don't know. What do you think? What's everyone saying?
Oh man, we did this whole thing where honestly, like a week ago, if we would have talked 3 days ago, I would have said, "There's no way." Alex Pereira saved UFC 300. They had no main event, and he knocks out Jamal Hill, the former champ. Then he saves 303 on 10 days' notice. He was in Australia on a like seminar tour. Connor breaks his toe. He jumps in there and saves the day, and then knocks out Yuri Prochazka, and then takes another fight on relatively short notice against a super tough Khalil Roundtree and stops him. 3 stoppages, saves their butt, 3 wins, all that stuff and more in a span of time from April to October, 6 months. But then you look at the level of competition. You and Max, 2 of the 3 greatest featherweight champions of all time, right? With Jose Aldo, you can argue 1 and 2, 1 and 3, 2 and 3, whatever it is. Like legends in their prime, not past their prime, in their prime. After the run that Max was on, obviously the run that you were on at featherweight, 2 wins like that in the span of 8 months. It's really a fascinating debate because the 2 wins are greater than the 3 in terms of quality of opponent, but that's 3 versus 2, and then it's short notice and all the stuff you had to deal with. I said anyone is crazy if they give it to Ilia or Max leading up to 308, and then I saw what Ilia did to Max, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a strong case to be made here.
Yeah, I think there's a few. Yeah, the fact that Pereira was saving cards and doing things on such short notice and putting his title on the line to save the day on such short notice. I did that right, and I was chasing someone's belt. Pereira did that, putting his belt on the line. So it's that's impressive. But then you look at Ilia, like who he's beaten. I mean, sometimes it's going to have to come down to level of competition as well. And myself and Max, it's impressive, man.
Yeah. By the way,
very impressive.
After the fight, Conor McGregor said, "Call me." Is there any concern that he gets this fight before you?
Nah. I mean, if he wanted it, he's not getting down to featherweight. You know what I mean? Like by the time that happens, that'll be 2 years if he was going to get down to featherweight. But But I reckon he's probably, it's Conor McGregor. If he's told him, like, I'll make feather, I'm fighting Ilia next. Me going in there doing the face off on the weekend probably doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But yeah, like that'll be a long time waiting. So and it ain't gonna happen. I don't know what he meant with the call me, but whether they do that at a different division, you know what I mean. But I don't even know why
Fair enough.
I think we all know that that's not happening anytime soon anyway.
And could I ask you? Ilia says he wants to submit Islam. How do you think he would do if he went up to 55 and fought Islam?
Yeah, the submission, obviously, that I don't see that happen. Can he knock Islam out?
Yeah,
of course. He could knock anyone out in them two divisions. Like I said, he's like I've always said that, and it's going to be the same for Islam. The only way I see these guys losing myself is getting caught, and who can catch these guys? There's guys like Ilia. You know what I mean? It's guys like Ilia that can do that. So I mean, he could go out there and land, but I mean I think that's his only chance. Going out there and actually beating Islam or even submitting him and controlling him, I just think that isn't I think very, very unlikely. But I definitely can catch him. And I think Ilia can catch anyone in them two divisions. So you can never count Ilia out in them fights, but they are going to be tough fights, especially for you. If he can't knock them out, if he's not knocking them out, they're tough fights for him, obviously. Very tough fights.
So it's Ilia versus Volk 2. Can't wait for it. It's the fight that should be made. He's rocking up with Sergio Ramos. You seem to be happy to see Sergio Ramos. What a legend he is. Who's Volk rocking? Like who's going to be your celeb +1? Is it Jamal Murray? Is he that guy, or are we going bigger than Jamal? I love Jamal, fellow Canadian. He's the man. He's incredible. But I feel like you need a guy.
That's my guy, mate.
That's your guy. Is he going to rock up with you?
Yeah, he already has. You know what I mean? Look, man, I'm be with my team. You know what I mean? If other people are going to be there, cool. Zach walked out with me last time. That doesn't
That's
look
right.
bigger than that bloke.
That's right. That's true.
So, but I mean, it's people that I know and I get along with. I get along with Zach. I consider him a friend, and same as Jamal. You know what I mean? So they're the guys. Mate, put it this way, if Ramos and all that's there, I don't care if he's walking out of Ilia. I'm still shaking that guy's hand. You know what I mean? I appreciate everybody, whether they're rooting for me or not. You know what I mean? I don't hold any grudges. You know what I mean? He can be cheering for Ilia. I'm still shaking the man's hand.
Amen. And much respect to you. That's why so many people respect and love you as well. Delighted that you're getting it. Hopefully we get it sooner rather than later. Maybe first half of the year. That would be ideal, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
That would
definitely. It's not ideal last half part of the year. That's for sure.
Yeah. So
if that's the case, maybe we are talking about something else.
Oh gosh.
We'll see what happens.
So good luck with all of that, and great to see you out there, and you continue to crush it. Again, shout out to your whole team, the Cooking with Volk stuff. I mean, I see the way you're cooking that meat. It's troublesome. Everyone's going to get sick. It's a big problem. I just want to let you.
And your well done meats, man.
It kills me. I mean, look at this. You and Jamal out there with the meat. It kills me. I love you both, but I just don't know what you're thinking doing all of this. But it's fantastic.
My burgers are more well done, mate. My little smash burgers. There you go. You might enjoy that.
I saw
you
that
like
one.
Burger?
You were in the country. I saw that. You were somewhere. You were camping or something, right?
That's my farm.
Oh, that's where you were.
My farm.
You were actually out in your. I saw you out there. I was like, look at this guy. There's mosquitoes all over you and stuff, and you're just enjoying a smash burger.
I had a bug.
Oh,
I had a bug on the brick. I don't know if you've seen the bug on the brick.
Yes, it was disgusting.
Smashing the burger with.
What about the fact that you were smashing a burger with a brick? The first thing I thought of, that can't be sanitary, Vogue. I mean, where did you get that brick?
That's all right. I had that next to the fire for a while, so it killed all the germs. Don't worry.
It did look the burger looked fantastic. I will give you that. It's all great stuff, and it's great to catch up with you again. Appreciate you doing this. All the best to you, and hopefully we get that fight sooner rather than later. It's great to see you in good spirits. Yes, please.
If I'm cooking you something, what am I cooking you? What do you like? Because I refuse to do a well done steak for you.
No,
so it's going to have to be something else. What are we cooking?
Does it have to be meat? Does it have to be meat?
No.
It could be anything.
Well, yeah, as long as it's not too complicated. I'm not that good of a chef, but
I like it. I like it. I'm a big fan of Italian food, like pizzas.
Oh, yeah, Italian.
That's easy though, right, for you?
I can do Italian.
Sushi?
I can do. I just did a sushi. I just did it on my YouTube. I had help with that, but like I said, we can make anything.
I would
work,
love
mate,
it.
You know what I mean? If I need a hand, the beauty of editing. You know what I mean? Well, it'll look like I did it anyway.
One of my favorite segments was when you were here and you did it for us with the air. Remember that with the air fryer and everything? It was fantastic. It blew my mind. I never even heard of Takis. I thought they were an Australian delicacy.
Yeah, well, there you go. Even so, like you know how I do the crumb with the packets of chips.
Yeah.
Like one of my biggest videos that I did, would have got like 14 or maybe more plus million views. Was the chips? I think I did a Dorito chicken burger. So it was like Dorito crumbed chicken burger, and that went nuts. See, and I did that first on your show. Everyone's jumping on that. I'm seeing everyone do that now. I'm seeing everyone do the crumb and the chicken with chips. I don't know, but did I see that? I don't think I've seen that anywhere. I'm claiming that.
You claim that. You claim. Will you open a restaurant? I feel like you could at this point.
I could. I mean, I don't have the time to be there. I mean, but I could definitely, open one up, do something like that. Yeah, for sure. We've got our eye on a few things anyway, so stay tuned.
Okay, I love it. You're a man of many talents, and also the Engage stuff looks fantastic as well. So everything's hitting right now.
We're wearing the hat right now.
Yeah, look at that. Shout out to Ash and the team. Well done, Alex. Appreciate it very much. All the best to you, and thank you for coming on as always.
No worries. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, there he is. Alexander the Great, Volkanovski. Great to catch up with him. Been a while. Been a while since we caught up with him. The sun is setting here in New York City, and we've got a lot to discuss tomorrow on the program as it pertains to the featherweight division. Tomorrow on the show, the aforementioned Diego Lopez will be on. How about that? Diego Lopez going to join us. Marlon Chito Vera going to join us. The reigning defending UFC flyweight champion, the one and only Alexandre Pantoja, is going to join us as well. We haven't talked to him since, of course, the announcement that he's going to be fighting Kai Asakura in December. And I'm very excited about a debutante on the show tomorrow, Dr. Brian Sutterer. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He does fantastic stuff on YouTube as far as breakdowns for medical injuries. We saw what happened to Robert. We saw what happened to Chris Barnett. We saw what happened to Rafael Dos Anjos. I would like to get his take on these injuries. He does amazing stuff when it comes down to breaking down sports-related injuries. Something happens in the world of sports, like Shohei Ohtani gets injured on, when was it? Friday, I think it was. And that was an unbelievable game. No, it was Saturday night. Yeah, it was game 2. Yeah, game 2 Saturday. He's got a video up in like 30 minutes. It's unbelievable. And I think game 3 is today, right? Who are they coming out with? Are they coming out with Jay-Z? Are they coming out with...
It's not on the air, so you have to...
That's what they're saying about Fat Joe? All right, they're saying Fat Joe. I'm cool with Fat Joe. But they've got to do it well, and it has to be like they're not copying, because the Ice Cube bit was phenomenal. I mean, it was just like him walking from the outfield. It was incredible. They've got to respond in a big way. So let us see. Still to come this week, Wednesday show as well. Thursday, Boys in the Back. Friday, Crack. And Saturday is a underrated? Fucking hell. Under the radar. Tough. Yeah, it is tough. Underrated card in Canada, in Edmonton. I love this card. A love letter to Canada, headlined by the great Brandon Moreno. The return of Rose Namajunas, but there's a ton of Canadian talent, including our friend Jasmine.
Jazz Divizius.
Yeah, she's on there too. Mike Malott as well. So I love this card in Canada. One of the great arenas in North America, Rogers Arena. So we have much more to discuss as the week rolls on. But for now, Frank, it is time to go. I've got a mint Oreo cake to get to. All right.
That's exciting. What time should I come over, by the way?
Nothing gets in between me and my birthday parties. You know that.
Absolutely.
Great taste,
except for
from
mine.
Claire, by the way.
You like that? Ah, she's gonna love that. You like that pick?
Mint Oreo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a mature palate right now.
I know. I was like, are you sure about this? Like, the cake is green. You sure? She's like, yes, my favorite.
I stand with her. I love mint ice cream.
Did anyone order the Dubai chocolate?
Yeah.
We haven't been able to leave the studio yet, but
Okay.
might
Well,
be,
you can order
might
it
be
online.
some. Oh, you have to order it online?
No, I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm sure there's.
Listen, there's a chocolate shop near here that I'm gonna go check out after this.
Why do you sound like you're underwater right
I
now?
want to know this.
I know. I'm hearing it in my ears.
It's been a few things. Working out the kinks.
Still working out the kinks.
Yeah.
Just made a sick save. Mouse was about to fall off.
Oh my god.
Everything could have shut down if I hadn't made that catch.
For real.
I mean, the
Everything.
reaction speed is impeccable.
We stumbled out of the gate there a little bit, but we found our footing. I want to ask you guys your thoughts on my breakdown of Francis and Dana. Good, yeah? Did
Man,
you
as
enjoy it?
as the outro music hits.
Yeah, no, please.
Hour-long breakdown. Give me your thoughts as we're pressed up against the outro.
Anyone? Quick?
Comprehensive.
Comprehensive. All right, fine. By the way, special shout out to Jedi Goodman and Andrew Feldman. Without them, I don't know if we could ever find these receipts. So thank you to them and the team in the back for all the work in putting that together. Of course, thank you to Lerone Murphy. Thank you to Darren Till. And thank you to Alex Volkanovski. Thanks to them. Thanks to you. Back on Tuesday, same time and place.